Allrounders 125. Indra grew up in her family while being shunned and ostracized. When she regained the memories of her previous life, she decided to run away from home and thus trained herself to absurdity. During her training, she encountered the young adventurer Sword, who looked just like a middle-aged guy. Worrying about the impertinent, eccentric, pointlessly strong young girl, Sword invited her to go on a journey with him. Show more. Chapter 1. The first thing jumping into my eyes when I woke up was a dark, deserted room. While vacantly looking around me, I realized that I've been sleeping and dreaming for a long time. Was it one of those dreams you have when still half asleep? Wait, a dream? Was it actually one? A dream of dreaming how I woke up here and now. My memories from having lived as a different person in another world don't cover everything from my birth to my death, but it's got to be a dream, right? I feel like something happened right before I woke up, but I can't remember. Instead, I'm remembering a reality I don't really want to remember. I'm being hated by the people living here, in this world. The me of this world is called Indra Springcoat. I was born into a fairly rich family, but at the same time it's an environment not allowing me to capitalize on that affluence whatsoever. The fact of a 5-year-old girl, me, waking up in her bed all by herself in a dark room speaks a tale for itself, I'd say, of my parents. I don't really want to call them parents. Of the man and woman, who seem to be my biological creators. The woman has already died. She hated me to such an extent that it made me wonder why she gave birth to me in the first place. While alive she kept showering me with insults, and died always waiting for the man who seems to be my biological father. In other words, the man didn't give a damn about the woman. But why did he have a child with her if he didn't care about her anyway? I mean, I wouldn't have been born if they didn't have sex with each other, would I? Maybe he lost out to his sexual desires. The man had another lover, and for most of the time he stayed at her place, but when my biological mother died, so did his lover, or so I heard. Thus he came back to this mansion, with the child he made with his lover in tow. His lover's daughter is roughly my age. But, who cares? That part doesn't matter anyway. The man loathes and abuses me while doting on his lover's daughter. My biological mother's dislike also included hatred, but that man seems to genuinely hate me. His lover's daughter doesn't appear to hate me, but neither does she sympathize with my situation. Accepting the love and care she's receiving as nature's law, she seeks the same from me. She's a girl who's way too thick-headed for her own good, always going at her own pace. She doesn't seem to understand the concept behind thoughtfulness either. The man is a noble, and of course the same applied to the woman who gave birth to me. The lover and her daughter seem to be commoners, and so they've never learned manners. That's why the man's lover could never enter the mansion up until her death. But her daughter is a noble's child, allowing her to come here. And yet she keeps getting embarrassed because she doesn't know proper etiquette. And because I'm the one getting blamed for her lack of manners, I don't want to have anything to do with her. Wouldn't it just be fine for her to learn manners if she doesn't want to lose face? In my case, the woman who seems to be my biological mother drove manners into me, physically, obviously to vent her resentment, so I've mastered it. Although the problem would resolve itself if she learned it in a similar way. That man doesn't even try to teach her manners, though I don't know whether it's because he finds it too troublesome or some kind of abuse play by pretending to dote on her. No, maybe it's an abuse of sorts against me. Is he not teaching her manners so that he can blame me for her lacking manners? Probably the me, who lived here until seeing that dream of another world, has been relentlessly cornered until she fell ill. And then she saw that dream, and I woke up. She gave up. My dream self didn't experience that much love from her parents either, but despite that, her situation was much better than mine. Yep, it was not as bad, but my dream self still thought, I'm going to become independent and live by myself as quickly as possible. The current me has decided the same. I'm going to quickly leave those annoying people around me in the lurch, become independent, and live by myself. Going by the fact that I've been born into nobility, I've got barely any choice in selecting a marriage partner. Thus, if I stay here, I'll most likely get married off to some guy as a convenient pawn for that man. But and 0 value SP.C0M. Go to hell. I'm going to cast away my noble self. I mean, it's not like I'm living the life of a rich girl right now anyway. But in this world it looks like my life as a plain child and woman is going to take place at the bottom of society. Thus I'll train myself to become strong and sturdy. I'll earn my money by turning my body into my capital. After all, I do possess the knowledge of another world. I don't know how much use that knowledge is going to be in this world, but the other world me had studied swordsmanship and hand-to-hand combat. She seems to have been quite the hot-blooded person. Also, magic arts exist in this world. So it seems. Fantasy. Even if I ask that man, he'll probably not allow me to study anything. I'll have to obtain everything through self-study, but whatever. I'll study, build up my stamina, and freely use my otherworld knowledge to improve my body and mind. It's not like I'm planning to take the world or anything. For the otherworld me it'll be all fine as long as she can live normally. Moreover, I don't want to be anywhere near sources of stress. If I remember correctly, work-related stress was the main cause for my otherworld self to damage her health and fall ill. I get up from my bed. It's quite a hard bed, isn't it? A mattress has been placed on a wooden stand, and a sheet has been spanned on top of it. At least a futon would be really nice. Well, if you can get a cheat for something like that, I'd love to have it. But I'm still only 5 years old. Right now I must strengthen my foundation. I stand up and look around me. Yep, no one's here. Originally I had a personal maid, but after that man came back, he took everything from me, and after giving all of it to his lover's daughter, he attached a single newcomer maid to me. Given that she's a new maid, she would originally receive training by starting from miscellaneous chores, and after assessing her aptitude when she had accumulated a certain level of experience, she'd have been assigned to the mistress of the house or her children for the rest of her time here. But all of these steps were skipped and she was chosen to stay at my side. Of course, it's way beyond her ability. Not to even mention aptitude, she hasn't even gone through proper training. But, her being unable to perform her duties isn't seen as that man's responsibility, who assigned the new maid, but as mine. It's being turned into wonderful material for abuse by claiming that it's my instructions and teachings that are at fault here. No longer. I won't have that. The me from that time has already died. The current me is a combination of a 5-year-old body and an adult mind who possesses knowledge from another world. Though, to be honest, I don't remember my age. In the other world, I really wonder, how long have I been alive over there? Chapter 2 T/N. I'm still stocking up, so the releases will be once every few days. Once I reach my quota on stock, I'll switch to a more regular schedule. Just a heads up. Shortly after I felt like having heard a knock while dressing myself, the door was opened, and seeing me up and about, the visitor yelled out in surprise, "My lady, have you already recovered from your illness?" It's Miss Newcomer Maid. She's still a young 15 years old. But then again I doubt she wants to be told that by a 5 years old. Yes, I am fine, thank you. As I went with a safe answer while looking back at the maid who was coweringly glancing my way, I began to ponder. I'm sure she's always acting so timid because she's been assigned to me despite being a newcomer. Because she's making lots of mistakes since she hasn't learned anything and thus constantly embarrasses herself. Because I'm being hated by everyone in this mansion, and because the other people in this mansion must look at her with eyes full of scorn and ridicule. Who am I to say all that? I mean, I'm going to use her for my own schemes as well, contrary to the sympathy I feel for her. I do feel sorry for her, but everything is the fault of that man. So I'll have her take the blame for a bit longer. I'm sorry, okay? I will take all my meals in this room from now on, eh? And 0 vlisp.c0m. I'm telling you to bring all my meals here. Why yes, my lady. Once I repeated myself, she bowed while answering me in a funny way. I'm more than certain that that man is going to use this as yet another reason for abusing me, but to be honest, I don't even want to see his face. At least the meals should be something enjoyable, right? The newcomer maid passed on Indra's words to the head maid who then passed them on to the butler. The servants, who had been working in the mansion for a long time, felt for Indra's circumstances. Despite Indra herself not having noticed as much, her mother only spared cruel slander for her daughter, day in and out. She got educated in a way that might as well be described as torture. On the other hand, her father only came back after her mother died, bringing the daughter of his lover with him, and on top of favoring that girl over Indra, he treated Indra, his own blood, like trash. And yet Indra chased after her father, always doing as told in her desire to receive some parental love. Therefore the butler decided that they'd heed to her small selfishnesses and demands. He nodded his agreement, expecting that it'd be hard on her to get out of bed, especially after just having recovered fully, and handed out the necessary instructions to the other servants. Just in case. The butler also informed her father about his daughter having woken up. "Don't bother me with each and every single triviality," he snarled coldly with obvious disgust written on his face. "Certainly, master," the butler answered after a moment of silence. Since he had been told to not bother him with trivialities, the butler decided to not mention the matter with the meals. The food in my current world isn't tasty at all. How to describe it? It kinda lacks a flavor or two. Though, I won't complain. As long as it contains enough nutrients, it won't hinder my body's development and training. I'll do something about the taste when I start cooking myself one day. Anyway, I fully recovered from my illness only yesterday, so I limited myself to obediently reading books and making plans for the future. But the real show is going to start today. I had ordered the newcomer maid to prepare male clothing that would allow for free movement. Given that I followed various interests in the other world which also included becoming skilled at sewing, I can make rudimentary clothes easily. Yep, easily. I'm repeating myself to stress something important. However, now I want to study or train myself instead of investing time into sewing. That said, it's time to train now that I've safely secured myself some training wear. I adopt the positive thinking that I can freely train and study as I want since I'm basically being neglected anyway. The lover's daughter seems to receive teaching from a private tutor, but I've never joined those lessons, let alone that it'd be a pipe dream for me to be allowed to learn together with her. Even if I asked for it, it'd most likely result in me being exposed to a flood of insults. Since I don't feel like being on speaking terms with her at this point either way, I'll somehow deal with my education on my own. First up is basic training. In the other world I've done various martial arts, be it Japanese, Chinese, or Western. While recalling all that, I stretch, do muscle and endurance training, and practice the basic forms and stances. Okay, I've got the body of a noble lady, so things aren't going well at all. Oh well, I'm still 5 years old, so I guess it's only to be expected. At the same time, I'm practicing my magic. Look, I'm also studying normally, okay? But, I've already mastered reading and writing through a Spartan training regimen. And I've also learned how to calculate in the other world, so I don't need to learn any of those. I'm especially good at mental arithmetics, or rather, since I've always been gifted at science-related subjects, all that's left for me to learn is geography and history. For these two I can only rely on books. I decided to read books about magic, geography, and history after asking Miss Newcomer maid to bring them to my room in the form of an order. My focus was mostly on the books about magic though. I see. So in the end it relies on gut feeling, huh? The books say people capable of using magic arts sense that they can use magic. Of course I don't get it at all, but I can tell it's an entity different from the other world me. How to describe it? It's like a fluffy feeling that cannot be expressed in words. Kinda like ... yeah, a sixth sense. I'm pretty sure this must be the sensation signifying that I can use magic arts. For sure. Conviction is the key here. While concentrating on this fluffy something, I focus on sensing the fluff. Okay, I've become able to sense a fluffy current. Yay, now I'm positive that I'll become capable of using it. As of yet I only feel the fluff, though. Chapter 3 T/N. I'm still stocking up, so the releases will be once every few days. Once I reach my quota on stock, I'll switch to a more regular schedule. Just a heads up. As I was walking down the corridor, off to a good start, I suddenly ran into that man. However, I decided that it didn't happen. Or in short, I ignored his existence. For some reason he didn't seem overly pleased with that, though. Up until now he never even tried to call out to me whenever we met like this, but now he planted himself in my way. Oi, don't keep pretending to be bedridden over some feigned illness. It's disgraceful. Meals are to be taken at the dining table in the dining hall. If you can't follow that rule, you'll go without food. Uh-oh. Are you planning to starve me to death by using the abuse of no food for you? What? It looks like he hasn't heard the words I instinctively murmured because of his age-driven poor hearing. When I looked up at him in suspicion, I saw surprise written on his face with his mouth left half open. However, he then apparently pulled himself together. Didn't you hear the take your meals at the dining table? I did catch you saying no food for you. Also. What was it? Feigned illness? Why would you think that a person, who has remained asleep for a week, would fake a illness? I must praise you for coming up with such a diabolic assumption that puts even a devil to shame. When I answered him, he was surprised. Again. Moreover, to dine at the same table with a person who just recovered from her illness. Nothing less of you, Earl Springcoat. You love lashing out at the sick and dead. Him becoming flabbergasted must mean that my words have gotten through his deteriorated hearing. Or so I thought. But. What did you say just now? Unfortunately, he didn't hear anything I said in the end. I want to enjoy my food at least, so I will take it in my room. I put a break after each word, speaking clearly, loudly and accentuated. It must be quite hard on you to have such a bad hearing because of your old age. I think it'd be better for you to consider retirement since you're surely troubling your surroundings with that condition. Well then, please excuse me, Earl Springcoat. I bowed in passing, noticing how even the butler behind that man looked dumbfounded. The butler and Earl Springcoat ended up watching her leave just like that, unable to react out of sheer amazement. Up until Indra became bedridden, the family head evaluated his daughter as gloomy, menial, and flattering depending on the mood of the person she was dealing with. Her sole redeeming point over her mother, whom she resembled in anything else, was the lack of being hysterical. The butler believed that she rather resembled her father. She had inherited the color of her mother's hair and eyes, but father and daughter's looks, and above all, their facial expressions as they stared at each other just now, were as identical as the reflections in a mirror. Master, you carelessly remarked, that girl is as helpless and dependent as her mother was, a while ago. I'm sorry to tell you, but she resembles you in that aspect, the butler muttered in his mind. When the Earl came back to his senses, he flew into a rage, becoming bright red. Don't feed her any longer. Hearing that, the butler asked after a short moment, do you wish to draw heavy criticism to yourself? The family head looked at his butler in irritation. What? If you make the young lady starve by not feeding her any longer, it will cast a very bad light on the Earl Springcoat house, the butler advised with an unusually sharp glint dwelling in his eyes. It's no mistreatment. The family head snarled, but the butler still continued to stab him with his look. The Earl averted his eyes, and added with a softer voice, it's just the family head's punishment for his disobedient daughter. I believe that to be no more than sophistry. Besides, Master, would you not be able to enjoy your time if you were allowed to dine with just Lady Primrose? The Earl reluctantly nodded, and only now after all this time, asked, so, what the hell was the name of the illness that girl pretended to have anyway? I should have informed you that the doctor diagnosed her to have lost consciousness as a result of a mental breakdown and physical degradation through malnutrition. He also mentioned that her life might be in danger if her current condition were to continue. The Earl pretended to not have heard his butler's words. N0vlisp.C0m***. I expected that man to start something or starve me to death for real. But unexpectedly, the meals were brought to my room without anything in particular happening. In the worst case, starvation would have been inevitable. In the first place, survival in this house is challenging at best. My personal otherworld experience allowed me to open my eyes again, but if not for that, I might have died then and there. Something like being cruelly mistreated and abused by your parents from birth, and as a finisher, having to witness how the other daughter is being doted on, would doubtlessly crush any normal child. I'm currently continuing to live on because of my wish to enjoy this different world for a bit longer while also becoming capable of using magic arts, and because of my positive outlook that I'm going to reform this world with my cheat knowledge. However, although it's better now that she's dead, that woman had the habit of terribly abusing me, and that man seems to share the same trait. Oh well, what will be, I guess. For starters, I really want to do something about soap, though, as might be expected, or rather, as it's a standard template, this world doesn't know soap. I wonder, what are they doing about washing? What about the broth left over after boiling veggies and similar? When I was doing my muscle training in the evening, someone knocked on my door, and opened it before I could even answer. Okay, there's only one person in this mansion who would do something like that. Primrose Springcoat, the daughter of that man's mistress. Seeing what I was doing, she became surprised, but still entered my room on her own accord. Though you could say that it already was an improvement for her having knocked at all. I mean, at first, when she arrived in this mansion, she simply stormed into every room without even bothering to knock. Dumbfounded by that behavior, the butler and head maid frankly advised her to stop it, which then resulted in me getting scolded by that man, under the pretext that I didn't teach her how to knock. Anyway, back to the reality in front of me. Elder sister, you have recovered. Have you? Ah yeah, it's only natural for her to react like that when watching me doing push-ups like this, I suppose. You might be disappointed, but as you can see I didn't croak. Primrose was lost for words. No way. Something so terrible. I'm joking. I'd like her to not start bawling here, since it'd be reinterpreted into me having approached her to bully her, despite her having entered my room. So, what do you want from me? Also, it's quite rude to selfishly open a door and enter a room without waiting for permission. It's an effective method if you want to make your father scold me, though. She was lost for words once again. I'm sorry. It's meaningless to apologize to me. So, I'm repeating myself. But what do you want from me? Primrose was looking at me in a daze. I've heard that you've recovered. You're not coming to the dining hall these days, are you? That's why I came to invite you. I'll come to pick you up tomorrow, so let's eat together at the dining hall. No, oops, I somewhat ended up interrupting her. No good, no good. That's bad manners. Let me say it once more. I refuse. After remaining stupefied for a short while, Primrose nervously asked, "Why, elder sister? You eating your meals in your room all by yourself is too lonely and saddening. Isn't it a lot more fun, livelier, and far tastier to eat together?" What's this girl blathering about? I don't quite remember what happened before I fell ill, but I feel like eating together with you was never lively or fun. I directed a cold look at her, and, eating with you people is far tastier than eating by myself. I think I might have misheard you. But don't you remember the words you and your father said to me during our meals? And then I counted down the slander I had to endure, using my fingers. Don't eat while looking down, it's depressing and gloomy. It looks like you still haven't taught her manners. Just what the hell are you doing? For heaven's sake, this is why dullards are so. An eccentric woman just like her mother. I stopped for a moment, tilted my head to the side, and looked at Primrose. What else was there again? Oh well. Me eating my meal while being abused, despised, and condemned for everything being my fault to such an extent might be very enjoyable for your father, the one doing the abuse, and you, the one watching it. But for me, the one on the receiving end, it felt so bad that it made the food taste bland and that it killed my appetite, even after eating almost nothing for days. It went so far that I collapsed and didn't wake up over a span of several days. Primrose was about to talk back, but then remained silent and cast her eyes down. After not saying anything for a while, she muttered, "I don't want to become friends with you, elder sister." "Oh my, I'm happy to hear that." I smiled sweetly, and lured in by that, she also burst into a smile. I'd call this a convenient development. It's the perfect opportunity to cajole her to my advantage. "Would you listen to my request then?" "Of course." "Anything you wish, elder sister." "I'd like you and your father to stay away from me. Also, I'd love for you two to not get in my way." In response to me telling her this with a smile, Primrose's face froze. "That would be a very big help to me. Since your father has the strong tendency to abuse me, I'd be quite troubled to be insistently told to dine at the same table as him after he's been repeatedly spouting that his food tastes bad if he has to look at me. It seems like he has realized that he can't slander me when I'm not nearby. For this reason he's even been considering starving me to death by not feeding me as long as I don't dine at the same table as him." Primrose became dumbstruck. Maybe she doesn't grasp the meaning behind the words I'm telling her. However, if his darling daughter pleads, "I want to have my meals with just you, Daddy," he might stop blathering such nonsense altogether. "If I could have you tell him, let's leave Big Sister to her own devices. I want to enjoy my conversations with you, Daddy. I think you could get him to leave me alone. Therefore, please cooperate with me on this endeavor by all means. Would you be so kind as to heed my request?" Once again I smiled sweetly. Primrose's eyes restlessly wandered about. It kinda looks like she hadn't expected me to make such a request. "Well, it's pretty simple, isn't it? Doesn't she just have to stay true to her own words? Or do you possibly also have the habit of abusing others? Do you like watching me getting slandered?" As if that could be true. Given that she got angry, I smiled sweetly while giving it the finishing blow. "Oh, then you'll answer my request, right?" Primrose nodded unwillingly. "All right, then I'm done with her." Immediately after that, I shooed her out of my room. Now then, I really wonder how things are going to pan out, starting with tomorrow. Chapter 4 T/N. I'm still stocking up, so the releases will be once every few days. Once I reach my quota on stock, I'll switch to a more regular schedule. Just a heads up. The author uses English loan words for some terms. I've marked them italic. Primrose apparently put in practice what I told her. I stopped running into that man all of a sudden, while on the other hand my food supply wasn't cut off. Incidentally, Miss Newcomer Maid stopped coming as well. Since I've told them to leave me alone, it looks like that also included the newcomer maid. Oh well, I'm basically capable of handling everything myself, and the things I've requested have been mostly fulfilled, so let's go with requesting the rest in person. First up, the kitchen. The cook is surprised to see me suddenly pop up at her workplace. "I'm sorry for disturbing you during work, but I'd like to ask and request several things." When I asked her how she's washing herself, I only received a dubious look in return. Makes sense, though. Water is the simple answer here. Also, apparently, or maybe I should say, as expected, the idea that you can remove dirt if you use soup stock has spread in the cooking world. If it somehow works with that method, it's all fine, but, you see, it's also possible to boil out persistent stains. If you mix the broth with wood ash and boil the liquid layer above the sediment, it'll get rid of stains even better. She was astonished. To be honest, that'd actually be laundry though. Then I told her my main reason for coming to the kitchen, in short, my wish to obtain beans, ash, and a pot. This astonished her once again. "Just what are you going to make with these?" "I plan to use them for washing my body and hair." The cook probably can't keep up with what I'm saying, but it's true. The beans were dried, so I had to soak them by adding water. So, see you tomorrow. The next day while drinking bean soup. "Hey, wait a moment, those aren't my beans that I've painstakingly put into water yesterday, are they?" Is what I hoped. I could also make soap if only I had someone working with me. But the process of making soap is impossible for a 5-year-old like me. I could do it myself if I could use magic arts. And since that's a possibility, I've got to do my best at practicing magic. The ways of washing I had personally experienced in the other world besides using soap were rice bran and camellia seeds, but I have no idea whether you can obtain either in this world. As far as I could see, camellia didn't grow in the copse of trees where I'm training or the garden. Neither could I find any plants resembling rice. One day I'm going to leave this house and look for rice. I can't die until I've eaten rice. No, I guess that's going too far. So, seeing how I can't get my hands on camellia seeds or rice bran, I'll try it with beans and wood ash. That's still much better than washing with nothing but water, right? While pondering about all that, I went to the kitchen. Wonderful, my beanies were still there. What are you going to do with these beans? I'm going to roughly crush them as they are. She kindly did it for me. As far as I could tell, the beans seemed to have low oil content, so only after adding nuts, a bit of oil dribbled out. Then I put the pulp into a bowl, added the ash, and mixed all of it together. The cook is pulling a face as if asking me, are you seriously going to wash yourself with that? But look, for me it's a first attempt as well, okay? People with healthy and robust skin can put this into a coarse cloth bag and use it for scrubbing. Children and people with delicate skin should put it into a soft cloth bag, add some water, and then use it for scrubbing. As for the hair, you should directly rub it in on the scalp, put the hair in a washbowl, and then remove the scouring pulp with a comb. That's the method I'm going to adopt. But since it's still only at an experimental stage, I don't know how it's going to turn out. Pardon? I mean I've got no choice, right? Since things are different around here compared to the other world, my only option is to try it out and see where it leads me. Afterwards, I asked the cook whether she got some vinegar or sour fruits. As she apparently had sour fruits in stock, I got some and left the kitchen. Now then, time to start the experiment. Usually hot water would be a better option, but now that I can't even ask Miss Newcomer Maid to help me out, I have to do with what I can manage myself. First I drew water from the watering hole with a bucket. No, I guess it's bucket. And carried it to the bathroom. I had to make several round trips, but it was no problem as I took this as a part of my training. I prepared the water, and then towels. Her cloths I guess. I wonder whether this world has anything like pile fabric? For washing and drying my body, a comb, a handmade bin bag, and the scouring pulp. I was finally all set. I wet my body with the towel. I won't call it towel anymore. I had soaked in water first. I also moistened the bag. Ugh, the ash dissolved. It looks like it'd be a bad idea to moisten it too much, so I scrubbed myself with it right away. I've become grey. But I continued without a care. Scrub. I managed to even scrub my back somehow. Lastly I washed my face with the scouring pulp and rinsed it all off with water. Somehow my skin looks shiny. I might just be imagining it, but I feel like it's become prettier. No, it's supposed to have become prettier. In a good mood, I started washing my hair. Wait, I should probably call it washing my scalp. After I thrust my head into the bucket, wetting my hair, I picked up a small amount of scouring pulp, and thoroughly rubbed it into my scalp. Oh, this feels really nice. Kinda like hair care at a salon. While humming a song, I carefully massaged my entire scalp with the pulp, and then I thrust my head into the bucket a second time. This is going to be a pain to wash out, isn't it? And 0 value SP.C0M. While making that judgment, I picked up the comb, and brushed my hair while intermittently washing it with water. I'd love to have a shower, really, or at least a sprinkling can. After rinsing and combing my hair many times over, all of the pulp was finally out. As a finishing touch, I dipped my hair in water containing the fruits I squeezed into it, and then, after pouring clean water on my head from above, I was done. Yay, I've finished washing myself. I raised my arms into a hooray pose. All the troubles have paid off. My silky hair looks lustrous and feels fluffy. The current me's care condition is in a really perilous state. My skin's health is bad and my hair is a mess. Probably because of all the stress. I'm worried that I might go bald despite being a little girl. Then again, even the other world me had to put lots of effort into hair restoration as it became thin and sparse in no time after she became busy and stressed as a working adult, even though she had full, strong hair before that. Now that I think about it, she often went to get her hair massaged and cared for at salons, didn't she? There was even a time when a beautician cried out, "I've never seen anyone with such a hard scalp." Looks in the far distance. I don't remember whether the other world me eventually went bald, but the current me has to also do her best at hair restoration since I'll go bald otherwise. Though I must say that it's super troublesome to wash your head in this world. When I went to the kitchen to report on the results of my experiment, The cook apparently needed just a single glance to grasp that it had succeeded. Seeing her reaction, I nodded. So it worked. That is. Congratulations. She was happy for me. Also, can I, do the same? I don't mind, but I want you to promise me that you'll keep the ingredients and the method secret. Well. It's not like it's difficult, but just in case, okay? Of course. The cook agreed obediently. Very well. As for the method, you put this into a bag, wet a cloth, use that wet cloth to wipe your entire body first, and then, after your body is wet, you just need to rub yourself with the bag. In reality you're going to become dirty in the process, but keep scrubbing without minding that. If you rinse yourself off with water at the end, you'll become clean and sparky. This part is easy. Washing your hair. Is quite a lot of work and requires a big amount of water, but you'll obtain nice hair in exchange. After moistening all of your hair, you pick up small amounts of the scouring pulp, and thoroughly rub it into your scalp. Then you thrust your head into a bucket with water, and repeatedly wash the pulp out with water while brushing your hair with a comb. I think it'd actually be easier to wash it out altogether in a river, if that's an option. I wonder, should I knead my hair with the oil I get from only crushing nuts while adding the ash as the main ingredient? The refreshing feel comes from me having added plenty of beans and nuts, though. Right. Dissolve the juice of sour fruits in water and apply it to your hair as a finish. If you do that properly and then wash it out with fresh water, it'll make your hair softer and fluffier. You have to make sure to wash out the fruit water, otherwise it'll become poisonous when still sticking to your skin, and it'll scald you, so be careful about that part. I don't know the fruits of this world, but they should have such an effect. Probably. The cook stared at me in wonder. My lady. Just how? That knowledge. I averted my eyes. Yep, usually anyone would find that suspicious, wouldn't they? I was reborn, craving for love where I would never receive any. My heart got worn out as I abased myself, always trying to gauge the other side's feelings, while constantly getting hurt from being cruelly mistreated, resulting in me collapsing. On the sickbed this old me passed away. After I luckily woke up, I decided to live freely for my sake alone. The cook cast her eyes down. Is that so? It's not much of an answer, but it looks like I've managed to deceive her. Phew. After telling her that I'd come back to make new scouring pulp after running out of the remaining rest, I fled from the kitchen. I mean, I'd be in a bind how to answer if she were to probe any further. Chapter 5. Does this world have calendars, or is it just that they exist in places where I can't see them? For the time being I've been training a lot over the last few months. By standard of the other world, I've got my hands on a wooden sword instead of a training sword for swordsmanship. Or rather practice swings. Using that, I've been doing practice swings every day. And I've also become quite good at hand-to-hand fighting techniques such as karate, boxing, and kempo. Then again, it's only martial arts where you strike your opponent. But I never learned judo or aikido, unfortunately. The training of my magic arts, I feel like I've become able to use them more or less by now. Probably. The training of somehow sensing the fluffy something has entered the second stage. And now I'm practicing to fluffily gather the fluffy something around me. Originally that wasn't written in the books about magic, but when I somehow tried it after feeling that I'd be somehow able to pull it close to me, I noticed that it worked, and thus I've been gathering it. But if I were to be asked, okay, so what about it? I wouldn't have any smart answer since I don't know myself. Learning magic arts through self-study is tough. The general concepts are recorded in the books, but they don't mention any training methods. Therefore I've got to teach myself every day through trial and error. I've been doing my training of gathering Mr. Fluff while seated in Zen meditation, as if drawing in iron sand with a magnet. No, the pull isn't that powerful. As if sucking in dust with an air cleaner. But then I reconsidered, wondering whether I would be able to gather it without the Zen meditation part. Ever since then I changed my training regimen towards always gathering Mr. Fluff. It's been crowned with success as I feel that lots of Mr. Fluff has gathered around me. Now then, I think I've probably got to do something with Mr. Fluff, but since I couldn't come up with anything good, I'm still stuck with merely amassing it around me. The practical application of my otherworld knowledge made some progress after I got the cook to cooperate with me. After threatening her that I'd kill her, strictly forbade her to tell anyone else, I passed on a few of the recipes and cooking techniques I knew of. This world has no fermented food despite knowing how to make wine. A simple fermentation method is to put veggies into a boiled container, crush them, and let them ferment. Same works with fruits. After using this as stock, marinating the meat with it, and heating it up in a covered pot, you slowly cook it over the residual heat of a flame. Increase the intensity when it becomes lukewarm, to finally bring out a full and deep taste. Why do you have wine but no food that's made with the same procedure? When I asked the cook, she told me, very likely the commoners have this kind of cooking. However, normally you wouldn't come up with the idea to deliberately let food rot before cooking it. No, there exist people who thought of this, right? The other world's food had far more variety and quality than that of nobility in this world, and yet people over there came up with fermented food, you know? Of course, the dishes based on my knowledge aren't served to that man and his ilk. I mean, the cook would be beheaded with her head placed on a pike outside the mansion if she fed them something made out of rotten food. Thus only the cook, me. And the servants, who wanted to eat it, partook in it. By the way, when I was asked whether you could brew wine in the same way, I answered that it should be possible to make fruit wine with a similar method. Since the cook looked like she wanted to try it out, I asked her whether she wants to have a go at it if you don't require a license for brewing alcohol. And since she deeply nodded her approval, we're currently in the middle of preparing everything to brew wine. But a high level of experience and temperature control is essential when it comes to brewing wine, so it's bound to fail, isn't it? Because I've been paying attention to not run into that man. I never saw him ever since that one time, but one day I got careless and inadvertently came across him. Of course I totally ignored his existence, but once that abuse-loving man spotted me, he apparently felt an urge to mentally corner and bully me. He went out of his way to draw close to me, and started to run his flap, so I lightly clicked my tongue. Seemingly having heard that, his expression changed. Even though he always clicked his tongue whenever I approached him before falling ill, I guess he's not okay with getting the same treatment from me. I expressly avoided you to not have to see your face, so do me the favor of not speaking to me when you have no business with me. I clearly and slowly pronounced every word so that even an old man with bad hearing would catch it. You really have a terrible character, don't you? It remains a mystery to me how someone like you could have been born. His voice was trembling, and he had become unable to clearly articulate himself because of his advanced age. How pathetic. Didn't I simply turn out similar to those who are my biological parents? Upon me replying this with a chilly voice, he froze. Wouldn't it have been better if you hadn't copulated with the woman who gave birth to me? If you didn't want her to give birth to me, it's your own fault for having succumbed to your sexual desire, isn't it? Something like claiming no responsibility after doing what you want to do. Is it possibly the syndrome where old people stop remembering past failures? I unnaturally cocked my head to the side with a finger placed on my chin. As he apparently got pissed off by the gesture, he tried to slap me, but I dodged it. It seems my physical ability has leveled up. The man seemed startled about my evasion. Rather, I'm also surprised at myself for having been able to dodge it, even if I've been training for this very reason. I thought that he might try to punch me next, but, Master? The butler rushed over while looking shocked. That man was panting with his shoulders heaving, and then he laughed scornfully while looking down at me. Don't make any mistakes. You think you're my daughter? Where do you have any proof for such a claim? You might have been born from that woman, but it's not said that I'm your father, right? Aren't you some bastard she made with some unknown man somewhere? After all, you don't resemble me in the slightest. Master. How could you? Shut up. How unusual. The butler, who's always calm and collected, has raised his voice in anger. But well, I can relate. I don't know what kind of relationship they share, but if that woman's family heard this statement, it'd turn into a problem, wouldn't it? The two looked at me. In other words, Earl Springcoat has not once copulated with the woman who gave birth to me. Is what you are saying? Confronted with my direct question, that man averted his eyes. So you did. Shut up. Moreover, don't call it copulation. No matter what I call it, it doesn't change what you've done. I calmly pointed out. Well, you insisting that I don't resemble you despite that is very appreciated. It's a good piece of news that I still have a chance for a father overflowing with love, broad-mindedness and kindness, who's going to come meet me someday, after he had to tearfully part with the woman who gave birth to me out of inability to live with her. The butler looked flabbergasted. No, not just him, the same could be said about that man as well. But then that man revealed a creepy smile. Do you really believe in such a fairy tale? You think I would? Isn't that something you'd be able to immediately tell without having to ask? For heaven's sake, that's why old people are such a pain to deal with. The man's face turned bright red as soon as he heard my frosty reply. I just became delighted over the prospect that it's possible for me to be unrelated to abusive trash that loves to look down on others and finds joy in bullying, hurting, and scorning a girl who's merely 5 years old. I must say, today is truly a wonderful day. Please excuse me then. I bid my farewell with a bright smile. 10:0 Chapter 6. Recently I've been noticing that my physical abilities have risen quite a bit, and on top of that, at a totally weird rate. I mean, anyone would wonder what's going on if a girl, who used to be sick because of malnutrition and a lack of exercise, suddenly became able to run 5 times the distance without being out of breath, right? Before my sickness it was questionable whether I'd be able to do 10 push-ups, and now I don't feel anything even after having done 50. You see, it's totally weird, isn't it? Moreover, I'm a girl, so what's up with that? My current stamina is exceeding that of the other world me at her prime time, even though I'm only 5 years old. But it's not like I've become a buffed bulk of muscles. Somehow I feel like I get the reason though. Anyway, it's muscle training. And such training has the goal to build muscle strength, so I've decided to repeat the exercises until I get tired. One day, Primrose showed up. I've been telling this girl each and every single time to stay away from me, and yet she doesn't listen. No matter how often I warn her to not come into my room as she pleases, she does it anyway. Since she still hasn't learned any manners either, I'm pretty sure that she's got a tough future ahead of her. Or maybe the outside world isn't so fussy about manners. It'd mean that only the woman, who gave birth to me, and that man have been so naggy about my manners. While brooding over these things, I nonchalantly kept ignoring her. But this girl has been steadily upping her resistance against my cold attitude, and nowadays she rattles on without a care about what I think or do. I must admit, in a certain sense, she forces me to pay her respect. And therefore, I replied that I would attend the tea party together with you, elder sister. Just when I was ignoring her as usual, she blurted out something unbelievable. Huh? We were invited to a tea party that's going to take place in 5 days. I've begged further to be allowed to go together with you. What was that? I don't have any dresses to wear for such an occasion. My growth period as a child quickly resulted in me not fitting any of my clothes. I'm sure the outfits hanging in my closet are all too small for me by now. The casual dress I'm currently wearing is something the head maid secretly prepared for me, as she couldn't stand watching me always run around in the same old, dirty training wear. That man probably doesn't know about this either. Or rather, I don't remember having received any new clothes since that woman died. I'll lend you one of my dresses. I've got lots of them. Even if you've got many clothes, no one says that they're going to fit my size, right? Or to put it more bluntly, they won't fit. And even if they did fit, your father would definitely slap me after blaming me for stealing his daughter's clothes. Primrose sank into silence. Good, now that we've settled this, it's time for her to get lost. Okay, this conversation is over and done with. Goodbye. Wait, elder sister. Given that I had raised my physical strength, it was a breeze to throw her out. Primrose apparently begged her father. Even the butler and head maid joined in, and used various arguments to persuade him, or so it seems. Just when I thought I heard a knocking on the next day, Primrose stormed into the room, excitedly shouting, "Elder sister! I asked him to buy you a dress." Hannibal and Coral helped me, too. Ah, Hannibal is the butler's name, and Coral the head maid's. I clicked my tongue, doing something uncalled for. Now then, elder sister, I don't want to go to something like a tea party, though. As I was wavering, the head maid entered the room with an unknown woman in tow. "Excuse us. I have brought the seamstress with me." I refused while alternatively looking at the head maid and the seamstress. "The tea party takes place in 4 days, doesn't it? In other words, you'd only have 2 days. It's impossible to prepare something like a dress in such a short period of time. I can't really believe that this world has something like ready-made clothes. Moreover, dresses of all things. I am terribly sorry since it would be second-hand clothing, but rest assured, I can prepare something from among those. Of course they have been washed properly, and since they have been worn several times, they will not pinch you." Arg. Second-hand clothing. That was a blind spot. But, with second-hand clothing it's even less certain whether they'll fit my size, right? I find it a bit hard to believe that you have fitting sizes at hand, however. And 0VLOSB.C0M. I think I can adjust them quickly as long as no big changes are needed. Seriously. But, I totally understand. I mean my otherworld self has sewn as well, so it should be possible to get it done quickly, if pushing it. In addition, I would like to be allowed to make new dresses for you. I think you are going to require them in the near future. I gave up with a sigh. Asterisk. The second-hand clothes arrived on the next day. However, how fast and how unwanted. The clothes had been chosen based on how well they fitted my size, and not whether they suited me or not. Despite clothes and accessories having been a hobby of the otherworld me, these dresses don't make my heart throb at all. No, I'd rather say it's just the dresses of this world that I don't like. They undeniably seem cheap. Kinda like rental outfits from the past. This fabric. Isn't silk, is it? I wonder what kind of yarn has been used. While pondering about all this, the fitting came to an end. By the way, my lady, your underwear is. It looks like you have been wearing something rather unusual. Yep. I earned myself that retort. I had hoped that she'd overlook it, but I guess that was too naive. The circumstances for clothing in this world, jersey fabric doesn't exist, nor elastic bands. Only underpants bound to the waist with cords. And since the restroom situation over here is bad as well, it makes you want to hold back on going to the toilet as much as possible. But, untying the cord with the bladder pressing down on you takes time and is an annoying hassle. At first I had the idea to make buttoned underpants, but since buttons are just as troublesome, I challenged myself to make a rib stitch. It was super difficult. Yes, super difficult. As a reward for all the hardships, it tightens moderately while not slipping off, and it's easy to take off and put on. Ha ha ha. All hail my otherworld knowledge. That crystallization of my efforts ended up being seen. It's something I made after coming up with the design myself. Please don't steal it, okay? I told her while cracking a smile. Chapter 7. After being taken to this mansion and getting introduced to elder sister, my first impression of her was a plain and gloomy child. And she actually proved my impression to be completely right. When I was introduced to her, I was very surprised since I didn't know that I had an elder sister, but despite that, I greeted her cheerfully, and yet, elder sister didn't meet my eyes, only facing downwards. Asterisk. When Mum suddenly passed away, Father came to me and told me that we'd go to Father's home since I wouldn't be able to live by myself. To be honest, I had absolutely no problem with leaving this place since I hated how the neighbor kids bullied me, always calling me mistress's child. Another big plus was my being able to finally live together Father. But then again, I actually wanted this to happen much earlier. When Mum was still alive. While thinking all that, I was taken to a huge, castle-like mansion. At first I was super happy and frolicked around. I wanted to bring the kids, who had been bullying me, here and triumphantly show them my new home. When I told Father about my idea, he smiled with a troubled expression, and told me, "You and them already live in different worlds, so you won't be able to bring them here." This made me even happier. Although they had bullied me to their heart's content, they were below me now, and if I were to meet them again in the future, I'd look down on them instead. I was keen to put this wish into practice, but only much later I understood that I'd never meet them again anymore. Instead, I was ridiculed by other people. My manners were repeatedly called into question, and people said, "This is why commoners are," behind my back. Even my plain and gloomy elder sister frowned when she saw me. However, noticing that, further got angry and scolded elder sister. Come to think of it, why is that girl my elder sister? Why hasn't she lived together with us until now? Once I confronted father with those questions, he smiled with a troubled expression once again, and answered, "That girl is a hopeless case, so she's been living somewhere else." Afterwards I heard father frequently tell elder sister that she was as worthless as her mother. I was surprised by that. For him to say something so nasty about mum. When I became very sad and started to cry, father said in a hurry, "I'm not talking about your mother, Prim." Whose mother then? At first I didn't understand, but I gradually learned the truth. Elder sister's mother had married father while mum and father hadn't been married. This also explained the meaning behind mistress's child. It looks like elder sister didn't live together with father. When I asked her about this, she told me that father had shown up with me a little while after her mother had died. I was jealous of elder sister since I believed that she had been living together with father, but hearing that this hadn't been the case made me slightly happy, and after having discovered that we shared this trait, I felt closer to elder sister. Father might have other mistresses' childs as well, but I was the one he brought here, and father treated me very kindly. Father was the only one claiming that me being unable to learn manners was to blame on the teaching methods. He got angry because elder sister didn't teach me and because her teaching methods were wrong. Being unable to leave the mansion was boring, but I didn't have to help out around the house like when I lived with mum, and I was being treated like a princess. But I had too much time on my hands, and thus it was boring. The only child close to me in age was elder sister. I tried to play with her, but it earned me a super nasty look from elder sister. It was somewhat scary. When I got further to scold elder sister by telling him about it, she stopped looking me in the eyes altogether. No matter what I said to her, it was useless. I tried to get this fixed by telling father about it as well, but when I did, elder sister stopped eating her meals. Even though it's so delicious, she didn't eat almost anything. When I tried to eat elder sister's share, she got scolded. Father said it's because elder sister hadn't properly taught me that it'd be a breach of etiquette for me to try helping elder sister out because she wasn't eating her food as she should. After some time of such incidents repeating themselves, one day Hannibal rushed into the room in panic. He said that elder sister had collapsed and wouldn't wake up. I got startled and looked at father, but he laughed scornfully. "She's probably faking it. That woman often pulled the same trick." "I see, she's faking her illness, huh?" "I know what he means. It's when you say your tummy hurts when it actually doesn't, right?" When I was really small I remember having said things like that as well because I hated the idea of further leaving. I went to wake up elder sister. As soon as I climbed on her, thinking that I'd wake her up by surprising her, I was jerked off her, falling to the ground. That totally startled me. When I looked up, I found Coral towering over me with a super scary face. I mean Coral is always scary, but now her face looked terribly frightening. Miss Primrose, what are you planning by treating your elder sister, who hasn't woken up after collapsing, so violently? Scary. I mean she's faking her illness, so I thought she'd wake up if I startled her. I justified it while being on the verge of crying. Goodness gracious. For her to say something so awful. The maids, who had appeared behind Coral without me noticing, all blamed me, and Coral's face became even more scary. "Lady Indra isn't faking her illness, she has collapsed." "Did your mother teach you to treat sick people violently, Miss Primrose?" "I'm sorry." I became afraid and cried. "Sally, Clara, Anna, take Miss Primrose back to her room." "Certainly, head maid." I don't like Sally, Clara, and Anna. I mean they're always treating me like a silly dolt. Even now they're looking at me with really cold eyes. Some time ago I told father about it, trying to have him replace the 3 with the gentle-looking girl serving elder sister, but father said that he couldn't do so because that girl wasn't up to the task of serving me. When I tried to have him scold Sally, Clara, and Anna instead, only elder sister got scolded while those 3 maids not only went scot-free, but weren't replaced with someone else either. I told father that I got scolded by Coral because elder sister wasn't faking her illness and because I had tried to wake her up since I heard that she was faking it, but father insisted that she was playing ill, and cut off the conversation at that point. I wanted to know whether elder sister was truly faking her illness, and thus I persistently pestered Hannibal about it every day. On the day Mr. Doctor visited, I tried to storm into elder sister's room to get certainty once and for all, but Coral planted herself in my way after having suddenly appeared from somewhere. Once again she looked at me with a scary face. Since I got frightened, I scurried back to my room. When I left it a little while later, I spotted Hannibal. "Did Mr. Doctor say that elder sister is faking her illness?" Faced with my question, Hannibal gave me a fed-up look. "It looks like her mind and body has weakened due to stress and malnutrition, and it's unclear whether she's going to regain her consciousness. He said her life is going to be in danger at this rate, if she doesn't wake up soon. Then it'd have been better for me to not climb on her in order to surprise her after all." Coral scolded me with such a scary face, and even the other maids. "Miss Primrose." Hannibal called my name as I was brooding. Once I looked up, his face was as scary as Coral's. "The doctor has stressed that my lady should rest and be treated very carefully." I froze. Currently Lady Indra is like an extremely fragile handiwork. Exposing Lady Indra to your overflowing liveliness. To be blunt, if you were to do things like slapping, kicking, shaking, and climbing on Lady Indra, she would undoubtedly die. Hannibal apparently knows that I had tried to wake her up, but I haven't gone as far as slapping or kicking her. Though I did think that she might eventually wake up if I did that. "If you aren't planning to kill Lady Indra, then please never do anything like that. Got it?" I nodded fearfully. Somehow Hannibal is also frightening. It was only quite a while later that I heard the servants talking about elder sister having woken up, with even my plain, gloomy, taciturn elder sister not being around. "It's boring. There are no other children of my age here, and the maids won't talk to me either." I thought that she'd show up during our meals, but since she never came to the dining hall, I got tired of waiting and asked where she was, just to be told that elder sister was eating by herself. Imagining how elder sister was eating in a really dark room all by herself, I felt pity for her, and intruded upon her in order to invite her to take her meals with me. Seeing elder sister for the first time in a long time, I realized that she had completely changed. And when our eyes met, her look had changed from the bad feeling it gave me in the past, but then again, it still gave me the same kind of bad feeling. She was looking at me with a face clearly asking what I was doing here. And then I got scolded for having entered the room without having waited for a reply after knocking. Just when I was about to say, "Isn't it fine since I did knock?" elder sister sarcastically ridiculed me by asking whether I actually enjoyed watching how she got scolded, and thus I couldn't say what I wanted to say. After recovering from her illness, elder sister wasn't plain and gloomy anymore, but instead she had become awfully sarcastic. When she put it like that, it sounded like I had no other choice but to obey anyway, and thus I reluctantly did as elder sister told me to. But once I got used to her ways, she was more approachable and easier to talk to compared to before. For some time after her illness I didn't approach elder sister as father also forbade me to do so, but soon I started to speak to her again. And although she was quite mean to me, I somehow managed to talk with her, and she stopped being nasty, too. I never got her to play with me though. But then, at long last, I got the opportunity to go out. Just hearing about a tea party, I got super excited. I wanted to show those children, who had bullied me, how I was wearing a pretty dress and sparkling accessories. But, since I didn't know etiquette well, I wanted to take elder sister with me. If I did it like that, only elder sister would get scolded after all. When I invited her, elder sister showered me with sighs and cruel remarks. but in the end she agreed to come along. Asterisk. Just as I thought, I feel like elder sister has changed. Hen 0 C0M. Previously, when I had happily shown her a dress father bought for me, she had glared at me with a terribly nasty look, but now she doesn't look at me like that. Instead, her face is always colored by irritation. Okay, I don't really like seeing either of those looks. Chapter 8. On the appointed day of the tea party, the dumb girl started to blab something about stopping over in the neighborhood she used to live. Of course I refused. You forced me to come along based on the story that we'd be going to a tea party today, didn't you? Why has this suddenly turned into a talk about us going to the place where you used to live? I mean, I'm missing my old home. It doesn't have to be today, does it? Wouldn't it be alright for you to go there on another day instead? If you ask your father, he'll gladly take you there, won't he? Or do you want to humiliate us by coming to the tea party late? Of course you're free to do so by yourself, but on top of forcing me to accompany you, you're going to disgrace me? What kind of punishment game is this supposed to be? A new kind of abuse? You're certainly not trying to tell me that you've plotted with your father to deceive me, are you? I'm sorry. I don't think that she's come to terms with it, but it seems she gave up on the idea at least. Since she didn't bring it up anymore, we managed to arrive on time. Asterisk. But then I got a headache from the dumb girl jumping off the carriage before I could instruct her on how to act properly. Elder sister, hurry. She selfishly prompted me, but I ignored her, and gracefully descended the carriage with the help of the driver. Watching me, she apparently realized. She looked behind her, and when she noticed how the faces of everyone, who had come to greet us, had frozen, she froze herself as well. Step back and imitate me while watching my every move. If you don't, you'll experience embarrassment as you haven't experienced so far. I didn't know how much of it she comprehended or whether I'd be able to cover for her, but after scolding her in a whisper, I ordered her to do as I do. However, to be honest, I can totally relate. The other world me was a commoner. If a small child rides a vehicle for the first time in her life, she'd frolic around and jump off the second the vehicle reaches its destination. It's unthinkable for such a child to be capable of performing a polite greeting. She has no mother who would scold her about it, and unless her home tutor was the Spartan type of teacher, it'd be next to impossible to drive it into her. I can't believe that man has hired a strict tutor. In the first place, that man looks like he doesn't even understand the general concept of educating a child. He's most likely embracing the misguided idea that she'll probably be able to do it even without proper education. The one in trouble won't be me, and even if he blames me for everything at all times, this child will be in a dire predicament once she has to stand on her own feet someday, and the one losing face over her inadequacies then will be that man. Such being the case, I'll act perfectly in order to not embarrass myself, as I don't want to get dragged into any of the coming backlash. Moreover, I've decided that I'll escape and lay the blame on her if she starts to do as she pleases without abiding by my earlier instruction. Also, I won't go to any tea parties anymore either. I'll make sure to wrap this one up so that I will never have to attend any tea parties again. Hen 0 C0M. Asterisk. After we somehow managed to get through the greetings, the tea party started. I think it's actually quite the big tea party. It's hosting a buffet, and just by a cursory survey of the venue, I can spot more than 10 people. And then I got my hands on a major piece of information. The woman who gave birth to me originated from a ducal house. Seeing how she married into an earl house, she must have been below second daughter in standing within the family. Moreover, even at this place I was told that I resemble that woman. Do I really resemble her so much? Isn't that just because we share the same golden eyes with emerald trims and a cocoa gray, closer to gray, hair color? I don't remember her except for her demonic face. But, I don't pull such a face. Anyway, the dumb girl apparently threw my instruction to the wind right away. I did tell her quite explicitly to stay behind me, and forbade her to speak unless prompted by me. And yet she immediately drew all attention by frolicking around while squealing as soon as we entered the venue, just to make a beeline for the sweets in the next moment. which then earned her criticism by the nearby children. Is she an idiot? No, I guess it's obvious that she is. She looked my way asking for help with her eyes, but I didn't care, and deliberately ignored her pleading look. I had my own plans to carry out. Miss Primrose appears to be a very lively lady. Quite so. Further loves her dearly. It looks like he cannot get enough of her liveliness. I replied with a sweet smile. I was taught manners quite harshly by my mother, but father appears to follow the idea of letting that girl do whatever she likes. He told me to teach her manners, but even if she fails at it, he never scolds her for her lack of conduct, claiming that my way of teaching is wrong. He has been disciplining me very strictly, resulting in only my manners improving. Ho ho ho, I laughed unnaturally. I'm playing up how much I'm hated by my father to such an extent that it leaves no room for doubt. In this world that has a severe lack of entertainment, I'm going to spread this scandal during my society debut. Considering that man for who he is, I'm sure he's spreading evil rumors about me. But I don't intend to live my life as a noble. It doesn't bother me at all to give the people here a topic to gossip about, even if it reaches a level where we won't be able to attend tea parties out of embarrassment. Just the other day, I was slapped and told, "Don't make any mistakes, there exists no proof of you being my child." Goodness gracious. He said something so terrible? Before I noticed, I got surrounded by adults who all jumped at my tragic heroine act. Although they were expressing their sympathy, I didn't miss the sparkling gleam in their eyes. At first I wasn't allowed to attend this tea party either. My little sister apparently invited me, not really understanding the circumstances given that she's being doted on by our father, but I have not received any dresses after my mother died, so while it's very embarrassing, this one here is a dress he bought for me as second-hand goods. Good heavens! For a while now, outcries of surprise arose many times over. Come to think of it, this deception of my listeners by acting like a tragic heroine is just what a villainess would do, isn't it? The target of attack isn't the heroine, but my father, though. I've roughly spread the scandal, and well, since I've played my hand so far as it goes, it's about time to pick up the dumb girl. Oh my! I beg your pardon for having you listen to these unsightly stories of my family. But, my little sister is innocent since she was raised without learning about any of this, you know. I am certain my father will sooner or later stop lazing around and hire her a tutor to teach her the manners of a lady. She does not listen to a thing I tell her, and it's probably because I am the only one getting scolded, but after experiencing today's tea party, my little sister will undoubtedly realize just how important it is to learn proper manners, and start requesting a tutor on her own accord. I must admit I cannot handle her myself. Adding the unnatural act of me having realized this only now, I rattled on up until this point. Well then, I would like to go back home anytime soon. I also believe that it is a good time as I am feeling that my little sister is close to reaching her limit of staying still in one place. Thank you for your time. Please excuse me. After bowing, I headed over to the dumb girl. She was completely depressed. What I had noticed at the corner of my eyes while circulating my gossip among the adults was her being splendidly avoided whenever she approached one of the boys and girls groups all over the place. Moreover, I saw children making fun of her behind her back at the perfect angle of being diagonally behind her. But, I really wonder why she's being hated to such an extent. For a child, the dumb girl falls into the standard category, I'd say. Is she being seen as an oddball by the children who are strictly taught proper etiquette? Primrose, I'm sorry to interrupt you while you're having fun, but how about we go home anytime soon now? Your father will worry if we come back too late. It'd result in me being blamed and severely scolded, so please, let us go home. Okay? Elder sister. She probably thought that I had finally come to save her. Ignoring what I said, she was about to bawl. Elegantly and kindly taking her hand, I led her. While bowing my farewell to the surrounding children, I urged her, Primrose, your farewells. While half crying, she bobbed her head left and right. I clearly told her to imitate me, but for her to be so forgetful. Giving up on her, I sighed, and quickly took her away from this place. I learned of this only later, but although the children were supposed to be accompanied by their parents to this tea party, I had apparently been attached to Primrose as her foster parent and maid. Knowing that only married women with children would attend this occasion, that trash of an Earl had absolutely no interest in showing up, and thus pushed everything on me. He's really the worst scum. Chapter 9. As the scandal I spread apparently had an effect, and since Primrose refused all other tea parties after having learned it the hard way on the one party we attended, I was never again forced to attend a tea party, and it was decided that evening parties would be off limits for me. 2.N0VLOSB.C0M. Nice, I did it. This is going to allow me to focus on my training. Oh, come to think of it, this world measures time and dates with magic tools. With magic tools? At least I've heard so. A magic tool? Phew. I really wanna have one myself. That which is owned by most people, not only nobles, but even commoners, is inaccessible to me. The reason is obvious. Since I couldn't do anything to fix it, I've been writing down the dates by myself. When I later counted them after quite a while, close to 2 years, going by the other world's time scale, had already passed. During those 2 years not one day passed without me training my magic arts. By now I've reached a level where I can unconsciously gather the fluffy something around me day and night. As soon as I focus on it, I can draw Mr. Fluff over from slightly distant places like a vacuum cleaner with a boosted suction power. I think that Mr. Fluff might also be at fault for my physical abilities having gone through the roof. I wonder whether I'd be able to make a living without Mr. Fluff. Since I got slightly scared by the implications of that question, I further increased my muscle training menu. But you see, somehow, I've become capable of cleanly cutting a branch in half with my wooden sword. And not just that. It unfortunately looks like I could also cut it with a hand strike if I feel like it. It's totally turned into a shonen manga at this point. Soon I might be able to cut things like rocks with my wooden sword. And I've finally become able to use something similar to magic. When I went through several trial and error runs by myself, as I thought, Mr. Fluff was the source of magic arts. When I transmit an image of water to Mr. Fluff, he becomes water. Well, I make it sound easy, but it was actually quite difficult. Okay, I've also become able to somehow create stuff like fire, hot water, or ice. I've resolved it by feeding energy to Mr. Fluff. Once I succeeded with one type, several other types quickly became available as well. In the end I also managed to create soap. It was super tough, but I prevailed. However, I wonder whether this is really the proper way of using magic arts. Or maybe I should ask, is it magic arts that I'm using? When I leave this place someday and meet someone capable of using magic, I'll beg them to teach me. The same applies for magic tools. My physical attacks? I can't really tell. Just like I haven't fought anyone yet, I haven't seen any fights so far either, so I can't gauge my own abilities. Going by the standards of the other world, I've gone way beyond Superwoman and reached levels as you'd find them in manga and novels, but if it's this world's standard, I might still be among the weakest. Well, at least I feel stronger than the dumb girl, but that tells me nothing. Right now I'm doing the very same training as it's described in manga. First I used self-made traps to dodge attacks and climbed a mountain up and down while blindfolded. But since that soon became too easy as well, I tried blindfolded mountain climbing while carrying a rock. I'd like to experience actual combat, but there's simply no opponent at hand. This place is behind a noble mansion, and probably part of its property, so I doubt that someone would pop out of the woodworks just like that. Stop. Just when I noticed that this was a flag going by the other world's terminology, someone showed up as I was taking a rest after having finished my training. Chapter 10. I froze up out of sheer surprise. Up until now no one has ever shown up around here. For the last 2 years I ran across this mountain forest as I pleased and tested out all kinds of things, but I never met anyone else during all that time. The guy who had appeared now felt like he had the same age or was a bit younger than that man. My first impression of him was, my pace traveler. He doesn't look like a mountain hunter at all. Then again, I don't know anything about the hunters of this world. 1. His pretty white hair color has turned into a dull creamy probably because he hasn't washed it for some time. The color of his pupils is light green. Jade with a cyan bordering, I'd say. We scrutinized each other cautiously. You a child? What you doing here? That's what he asks me. But, you're the last person I want to hear this from. I breathed out, and answered his questions with my own questions. That is my line. You are on private land. Did you obtain permission from the owner of this estate, or are you somehow related to the owner? After becoming puzzled for a moment, he breaks out in laughter. Sorry, I see. Didn't know this was private land. I've got nothing to do with the owner here, or to be precise, I've got no clue who owns this place in the first place. Seeing how you're bringing up such lines, you the owner's kid? I suppose you could say I am connected to him in some way. And zero vlusp.c0m. I was uncertain whether I should answer, but since I wanted to know the reason for this guy showing up here, I confirmed while keeping it ambiguous. Oh well, whatever. Muttering that, he surveyed the vicinity. I got tired of waiting as he didn't show any signs of leaving, and lowered the level of my wariness. To begin with, why have you shown up here? This mountain forest has no beautiful scenery to offer, nor an abundance of food, you know. That's why. Shoo. I didn't say the last line out loud, and probably because of that, it didn't get through to him. Ain't like I came here for such a reason. How to say it? It's probably the same as you. As me? In other words, you're saying you've got some kind of connection with my household after all? Nah, not that. Just thought this a great place for training, so I came. Huh? As I've become speechless, he grinned at me. You're training round here as well, aren't you? No, it's just that I don't have any other place where I could train. If I did it somewhere else, I'd definitely get in trouble, resulting in me getting scolded. Besides, I'd become unable to ever do it again. Once I denied that part. He looked flabbergasted. That's so? I'm sorry to hear that. That's why connected, huh? I see. He reached some kind of conclusion. Anyway, Shoo. The name soared. Adventurer. He started to introduce himself all of a sudden. Dude, I got it, so get lost. You're looking as if you don't give a damn. But listen, adventurers are folk who's making a living by going on adventures. Course just going on adventures won't turn into cash, so they gotta do requests and such. Most of those requests heavily rely on your body. That got me slightly interested. Adventurer, one of the key elements of any standard fantasy story. Oh? Drew your interest? So you see, as it involves lots of physical labor, it's necessary to train during your free time. I understand what you want to say. And that's why you found this place, right? My training is somewhat special. Just when I had chosen a deserted place that looked like it'd allow me to go a bit ballistic, I found you. Certainly this area meets his conditions, but I'd like him to not show up as he pleases just because of that. So, if you could stay silent and overlook me, I'll practice with you. Training in such a place all by yourself, and having to stop and getting scolded when found out means you've got no training partner, right? I silently gazed at his face for a while. In case he's a criminal. Well, it wouldn't really matter to me anyway. After all, I've hardly ever talked with other people during the last 2 years, and I didn't learn any information about this world either. I'm fully aware that I'm a sheltered young lady. As an adventurer, he probably knows quite a bit, though it's possibly biased information. I understand. Nice to meet you then. Youngster, what's your name? Indra. Nice to meet you too, Indra. When he held out his hand, I hesitated for a moment, but then shook it. His eyebrow twitched at that, but immediately following, a fishy smile formed on his lips. Sword told her that he'd go back for the moment and come back tomorrow, leaving through the mountain forest. And then he headed straight for town at a surprisingly quick pace. Reaching his destination, a building with a signboard that had Adventurer Guild written on it, he opened the door. Hey, call the Gilmas, he yelled carefreely, immediately after entering. In response, a man in his mid-30s appeared, and invited him to his office with the words, I'm here. I'll listen to you inside. Did you finish your investigation already? You coming here empty-handed means that you didn't find any monsters? Sword nodded. Yeah, just found a cute youth over there. The guildmaster furrowed his eyebrows. A youth. No presence of monsters throughout the mountain forest. The only one clad in an absurd amount of magic elements was that youngster. For a second, I thought he might be dangerous. But who are you? Was clearly written all over his face. Since it'd be bad if I were to cut down someone by mistake, I talked to him, and found out that it was a good call to not cut him down. The guildmaster stared at Sword quizzically. But, is he really human? I don't know any youngsters who would make the S-rank adventurer Thunderclap White Fang falter. You know? No clue. World's a big place. I mean, adults also flinched away from me when I was still a brat. Sword shrugged his shoulders. He told me that this place was off limits for outsiders as it was private land. That true? The guildmaster revealed a bitter expression, and nodded reluctantly. Hey, just a second. You sent me into such a place? Since a tinge of anger oozed out of Sword's voice, the guildmaster started to explain in a hurry. That's the very reason why I asked you. I heard about unusual phenomena taking place on the mountain owned by a noble lord. Moreover, not only was the cause a mystery, but no damages had occurred either, so there was no way that I could have put up a request for normal adventurers, right? Not to mention that not just the adventurers, but even the guild would have been in danger if the noble was the cause behind it all. I knew that you'd be able to finish this mission in secret without being found out and somehow deal with the noble in the worst case, which is the very reason why I asked you. Wait. The owner being a noble is news to me. Sword clicked his tongue. So, there's something I want to ask. Know anyone with the name Indra? The guildmaster froze. I know that name. But what? For you to react like that. What kind of person is that Indra? Based on your story, that youth must have introduced himself with that name. You see, Indra Springcoat is the first daughter of Earl Springcoat, the owner of that land. Sword froze as well. Huh? Say what you like, it can't be him. Sword assessed. That youngster is well beyond tomboy levels. He wore dirty work clothes, and his hair was cut messily short. Totally unbecoming for a young lady. It'd be a stretch to regard him as a noble's son, let alone a young lady. Thought he must be a servant working at the mansion who slipped out for training, and it seems to be just like that. He probably used the name of the mansion's young lady on the spur of the moment when I asked for the name, Sword concluded. Okay, I got the gist of it. He piqued my interest. So I'll go investigate the details tomorrow. To see if that Missy is the cause of it all. With those words, Sword stood up and left the room. Chapter 11. The shady guy showed up at the same time of the day as yesterday. For starters, I'm going to extract some information out of him while keeping my caution up. Came first and waited for me? Nice. No, I've been here the whole time. Recently I've entered a cycle of going back to eat in the morning, then visiting the kitchen to talk with the cook about new dishes, and the progress and outcomes of her experiments, and lastly secluding myself on the mountain until dinner. I've also been washing myself out here. So far no one ever came here, so it's not like anyone got to see me naked either. The man knitted his eyebrows. The whole time? That okay with your job? Look, I'm training out here for the very sake of finding a job. There's no way that a kid, who can't do anything, would be able to get a job. Right. At the end I phrased it like a question, tilting my head in doubt. Maybe children can actually work in this world? In such a case, it might be smart to speed up my schedule a bit. For the time being, I'm going to ask this shady guy whether there's any work I could do. Yep, let's do that. Guess going at a job goes bit too far. Helping out your parents. Would be better. Oh. I get it. That's how he meant it. What a disappointment. Never mind it. I don't have any parents though. I loosely waved his reservations off. In response, the man awkwardly scratched his head. I see. Sorry for asking something inconsiderate. Don't worry. It's not like it's wrong to ask whether someone is fine in regards to helping out their parents. At least as far as my common sense goes. I wonder how it might be in this world. Oh, It might actually be wrong to ask this in the other world as well. The man smiled wryly. You a funny fellow. Alright, I like you, so I'll give you some training. Please wait a moment. I have a few questions first. I held him back quickly and decisively. Right now I'm 7 years old, but can you usually find a job at such an age? No. Probably not. Then don't get my hopes up, and don't deny it instantly as if it's only natural. How old do you need to be to get some decent work? Or to be precise, I want to know the minimum age and job types that would allow me to earn enough to be able to live normally by myself. The man placed a hand on his jaw. Sorry, but I don't know much about jobs other than adventurer. You can basically become an adventurer whenever you want. Kids, who lost their parents like you, register as adventurers to get some cash or earn their living by doing odd jobs. That means the adventurer job would be the quickest way to support myself. What was it again that adventurers do? Ah, the ones in fantasy stories kill goblins and dive into dungeons, don't they? Sounds kinda interesting, so maybe I should try giving it a go. You plan on becoming an adventurer? He asked while looking amused. I've added it to the candidates, or rather, I don't know of any other jobs. Oh wait, cook is also an option. Our cook has told me that my skills are already at the level of a professional. I think it was just flattery though. However, working as a cook is definitely impossible as a child. Even if I were to extort some money from that man when leaving home, I basically cannot trust the people of this world. Human society is separated into classes. I don't know how much of a difference there is between nobility and commoners, but there's a clear distinction between adults and children. I can't believe that I'd be taken seriously, so I'd like to avoid any job where I'd have business partners to deal with. In the worst case, I can sustain myself with my skill set, but I'd love to go sightseeing. I mean, I've already come to this world, so I want to make full use of that opportunity, and just staying in the mansion or on this mountain all the time is boring. If possible, I'd like to live a bit longer this time around. Wow, bringing that up means you can cook? Yeah, more or less. I can cook up something edible, I'd say. He's intrigued by that news. Well, at least cooking is something the other world me has done before, so yeah. Seeing how I've done it for a good while now, it's only natural that I'm capable of it at my current age. I mean, I know that it's normal in the other world. I don't know any other places than the mountain forest around here and the house I'm currently living in. Going by my common sense, it's only natural to be able to do most of the things you're interested in, even at my current age, but I don't know whether that common sense applies to this world as well. That's why being able to cook isn't anything overly special as far as I know. I explained. I see. Well, I'd say it's a bit unusual, but okay, for the time being. If there's anything you wanna know, I'll teach you, as long as it's within the range of what I know or what I can find out from other people, that is. So what's it gonna be in regards to the training? Of course I still want to do it. Just as you've guessed, I've never fought against a live opponent. As I've learned everything through self-study, I don't know whether my training is lacking in some parts. If possible, it'd be a huge help if you could tell me whether I have the skills necessary to become an adventurer. I'd like to adjust my training menu as early as possible. The man laughed. Oh, finally your shadiness vanished, you know. What? You're totally acting like an adult, or rather, like a cheeky lad, I suppose. Indra, was it? I nodded. Gotcha, then come at me. The wooden sword tied to your waist is your weapon, right? Draw that and take your stance. Is he going to look at my stance? I don't really mind, I guess. But, the otherworld me was a fairly decent black belt holder. Okay, I smoothly drew my sword, and took my stance. Ain't that a fairly decent stance for someone who's self-taught? No need to bother with my form. I got the necessary knowledge. Knowledge and actual experience are two different pairs of shoe, aren't they? Sure, but my stance and form are fine. I just haven't experienced any real combat with this body. The knowledge of what the other world me has experienced is recorded in my brain. No matter how much people say you got to experience things with your body, it's the brain that moves the body. As long as I possess the knowledge how to move, the brain will move my body accordingly. To be blunt, I don't get half of what you're saying. But I've got it that you're confident. If you're talking so big, come at me and I'll coach you properly. Don't know how to fight? No, that's not it. I'm troubled about you not getting ready for combat. Or is there anyone else I should attack? The common sense of this world is super hard to understand. Just in case, I looked around me, but I don't really get it. What should I do? I'm your opponent. Now listen, you think I need to take a proper combat stance for a pipsqueak like you? I think so, yes. Let me tell you in advance. But I'm not looking into becoming a murderer or bandit. You have to measure someone's real strength before practicing with them without preparing in any way. For today I'd like to normally practice fighting a hostile enemy. As I was talking, admiration began to color the man's expression. 10-0-VLOSB.C0M. You're really cheeky, you know? Well, whatever. You convinced me. Just a second. He walked around, and once he found what he was looking for, lopped off a branch and readied it as something similar to a long staff. That stick. It's kinda like a wooden sword. Gimme one. That stick is really nice. Would you trade it for my sword? Stop sidetracking and come at me, will you? It looks like it was hopeless to hope for a weapon exchange. Shrugging my shoulders, I closed the distance and slashed at him. Chapter 12. Sword. This lil shit closed the distance in an instant, just to aim at my wrist. Sure, I didn't take him serious, but it ain't like I was careless or anything like that. And yet it looked like my defenses wouldn't be in time thanks to his astounding speed and precision. Yep, just as I thought. He ain't no ordinary youth. I'm damn sure that this can't be that noble Lady Indra, leaving the question, who's this guy, or rather, what is he? No. He's gotta be a human after all. He's fighting with a proper style after all. This is also the reason why I'm able to pull through with some leeway, though. I deliberately led the battle into a lock-in of swords in order to take a look at his power. But this part truly surprised me. We're friggin' even in strength. Moreover, magic elements are swelling up in him. What a blunder. Didn't expect him to be this strong. This crude piece of wood won't hold out much longer either. I swiftly recited a spell to raise my physical abilities, and sent him flying. The brat's body went airborne, and his torso became defenseless as he threw up his hands in response to being sent flying. The instant I swung my stick horizontally, trying to land a hit on his unprotected belly, that pipsqueak kicked up my wrist with superb time! N0-VLUSP.C0M. Fuck, my bones might be broken. The brat landed, and even while staggering, closed the distance right away. Wait, I give up. Let's end this here. He stopped at the last moment. Seeing how he's come to a halt, I swiftly take out a healing potion, chug it down, and get ready for the next set of attacks. But I see. So, what do you think? Does it look like I could become an adventurer? Or do I still lack strength? He asked casually after releasing his combat stance, making me wonder what I should do about this. Indra. Now listen. Let me get this straight first. You completely and utterly lack anything resembling common sense. You don't really have to stress it so much. I felt like saying it. No matter how much you trained by yourself, and even if you say you got not one to consult with, there's a friggin' limit for everything. Why the hell would you think you lack strength? That's why I told you that I don't know about other people. Rather, how the fuck did you become so strong? Speed, power, and everything else ain't nowhere near the level of a brat. On the contrary, even a grown man wouldn't be able to pull this off. So it's as I thought after all. Since this world is a fantasy, I thought around this much would be commonplace though. I vaguely sensed that it's weird. Vaguely? He spat out a deep sigh. You human? He asked. Did he think that I came here on a spaceship from some veggie planet? I don't have a tail, you know. I don't get the meaning behind your question, but the one who gave birth to me was human, I think. Though she pulled faces like a devil, and her way of treating me was just like that of a devil as well. The man. For better or worse, it's clear that one of the men she partnered with is a human, but most likely only the woman who gave birth to me knows the full truth. But since she's already dead, it'll remain an unresolved mystery for eternity. This made him dumbfounded. Then he spat out another deep sigh. Gotcha. Well, means you're an outstanding kid. But without any common sense. Once again he labeled me like that. Common sense doesn't matter as long as I don't get involved with people. Anyway, does it seem like I could become an adventurer? Your belief that you ain't going to have anything to do with people as adventurer is already perfect proof of your lacking common sense. Well, looks like it's necessary after all. And it looks like my dream of becoming an adventurer might fall through because of lacking common sense rather than lacking ability. Watching me brood, he scratched his head. Well, this is gotta be some kind of fate. If you're saying you wanna become an adventurer, I'll look after you for a bit. Also, you seem like you'd be a great training partner. Or so he told me. Despite pulling a face like a gangster, you're an unexpectedly nice person. When I praised him like that, who's a gangster here? Rather, you really have no common sense whatsoever. I got scolded. So, training over with this? He asked. Shaking my head, I answered, we already worked out, so the physical training has been covered. It's about time for lunch now, and afterwards it's going to be training in magic arts until evening. I'd say, eating lunch? How refined is it? Not eating lunch would fine as well, but I've reassessed that it'd be better to eat 3 meals during my childhood for my body to develop properly. You know. You're quite cheeky. No, it's more like I'm dealing with a geezer who's been round for many, many years. He told me and added while he was at it, so, lunch, was it? You mentioned that you could also aspire to become a cook, didn't you? Then let me have a taste. Whoa, you look so totally against it. I'm not aspiring to become a cook. Besides, good adults don't sponge off children. This is why I've been telling you that you're cheeky. Just let me get this straight for you, who's got no common sense. That was no praise, Kay? I know. Today you taught me various things, so let's make this your reward. And while we are at it, please teach me a bit about common sense. Also, wash yourself. You stink like a skunk. Is it just me, or is your treatment of me gradually becoming crude and unrestrained? I won't deny that part, but he still stinks. The man suddenly threw his eyes wide open. I got it. You sure are pretty neat considering your filthy outfit, aren't you? I've been washing myself here every day since no one came here. Well, until you showed up at least. I washed my body outside. Here, in these woods? He restlessly looked around himself. It's because I can also use soap and scrub. Let's wash our bodies before eating lunch. The smell is going to waste all the good food. He looked at me, super unwilling to go through with this. Gotcha. Still, you're not lovable at all, he barked. Sword. When the brat told me to take off my clothes, I looked suspiciously at her, asking, what about the water? I'm going to produce it right away, he said, followed by rain starting to fall at a spot slightly away from me. Huh? Don't tell me. Wet your body by letting that pour down on you. Once you're wet, step out for a moment, and use this. Smear this on your body. For your hair, use this over here. Spread this on your hands and rub it against your head. Then you wipe your body, but not the face, with this cloth. While I was completely flabbergasted about him being able to use magic, this and that was pushed into my hands. Since I was pestered to take off my clothes while I was still dazed, I surrendered myself to the unavoidable, took off my gear and headed over to the spot he'd pointed at. Water was raining down from above at a place beneath interwoven branches. The hell? This water is warm. Even during the hot seasons your body can get chilled when bathing in cold water, right? All the more so out here. Doctor, you're really a lost case. Sheesh. I'm going to show you how to do it, so watch, he said and started to take off his clothes. Having become stark naked, his body was astonishingly white, slender, and you were a girl? Womanly. Indra. How upsetting. It's obvious at a glance that I'm a girl, or do you see anything on me that would point to me being male? I had only checked myself out through my reflection on water, but I'm a pretty beautiful girl. Fair-skinned, and although I possess startling strength like those people from the veggie planet, I'm quite slender. You were Indra herself? Of course, Or what did you think? Did he talk to me on the basis of it being a false name? You're a noble, so what's with that hair of yours? Even among commoners you ain't gonna find any women with such short hair," he thundered, just to look taken aback in the next moment. "No way, you tellin' me someone cut it off like that?" "Well, the one who cut my hair was the family head's daughter, so you're not wrong about that." "That means." "At first she cut it while looking somewhat absent-minded, but these days she has fun doing it." "Well, it just confirms my suspicion that she's fast at adapting to new situations." "Quite the flexible one, or maybe I should call her forgetful." "You had her cut it for you?" "Don't raise your voice over each and every little thing, for heaven's sake. Anyway, imitate me. You'll understand once you've washed your head. But long hair is a pain to keep clean. There's not a single benefit in having long hair when training either, or to be more precise, the only two options for getting my hair cut were me doing it myself or having her do it for me. So it's also true that having short hair is still better than long hair that got messily cut with a child's skill," I explained while rubbing myself with the body towel after smearing the soap on my body. "For fucking sake, you really got no common sense at all." "Wait, somehow something's foaming on you?" "Want me to explain the underlying principle in detail?" "I don't know whether you'll be able to understand half of it though." "Okay, give it a rest. Are you a sorceress or something?" "Sorceress somehow sounds pretty cool." "No, it's just my common knowledge." When I shook my head, he stared at me, an eyebrow lifted. "But you're using high-level magic like it's nothing, without chanting, and on top of that, I've never heard of any spell that allows you to produce hot water." "So this was magic after all?" "That's where we got to start from," he shouted again. The smelly guy washed himself, and using the occasion, I washed myself as well, even though I didn't stink. When I dried us with hot air, it triggered him to run his flap again. "Dude, you're so damn noisy." After the drying was done, he looked like he had just enjoyed a nice hot bath, saying, "Ah, this was really refreshing." "That's great to hear." "For both of us," muttering that earned me a glare. "But, why?" "Oi brat. Missy, just what the hell is this thing?" He pointed at the soap. "It's something called soap or soap. In this world you call it detergent, I think." "How did you get your hands on it?" "I made it." He glared at me once again. "But, why?" "How?" "The base materials are water, salt, and oil, but it's the result of running many tests." "Okay, it's nothing you can make on the fly." "It was super difficult, as a matter of fact." "The reason is electrolysis." "That one was really tough, and ultra dangerous." "You really not a sorceress?" "How old are you actually?" "You not going to come around the corner with a punchline like been 700 years old or some shit like that, right?" "I'm 700 minus 693 years old." "I don't know what kind of a person a sorceress would be. Rather, I'd prefer if you were to call me a prodigy." The man shrugged his shoulders as if having given up. "Miss Prodigy, I'm looking forward to your cooking." "Got it. So please teach me." "What would I be able to teach a prodigy?" "Common sense." "I've been using magic arts, haven't I?" He rolled his eyes at me. "What did you think you were using?" I was troubled because I didn't know. Describing it properly it'd be like I gave it a go and somehow succeeded. He burst into guffawing. "So, is it normal to be able to use magic?" "Those with talent can use it, but what you're using is anything but normal." "You're not chanting any spells, are you?" "I don't." "It's not like anyone taught me how, and it wasn't written in the books either." "You read books, huh?" I nodded. "Those only cover the general concept." "But I managed somehow." "That's weird as fuck." "Rather, how did you do it in the first place?" "Can you use magic arts?" "Then again I wouldn't be able to tell even if you told me you can't." The man held up a hand, and then, after quickly babbling some incomprehensible words, fire flew out of his hand. "Ugh, a classic has appeared." "Don't you know your stuff then?" he retorted like that. "But I wouldn't ask if I knew, HMPH." "No, I don't." "However, I imagined using magic might be just like that with the tiny amount of knowledge I possess." "The words you said just now were a chant?" Still, you ain't even surprised about me being able to pump out such powerful spell without a wand, eh?" "You held back quite a bit, didn't you? I mean, if things went badly, a powerful fire spell would turn into a wildfire, wouldn't it? Just gimme a break already. You're a natural at ticking me off. Why? When I pouted my lips, the man ruffled my hair with a smile. True. Look in closely. You're a woman, and you seem to be of noble origin. The gloss and whiteness of your hair as well as the smoothness of your skin resemble those of a young noble lady. Anyone can look like that if they wash themselves with detergent. When I coolly replied to his comment, it earned myself another glare. Moreover, he pulled on my cheeks. Why, unless you're a noble, keeping yourself clean every day is a pipe dream. No way, filthy, dirty. Don't look at me as if I'm trash. That's why nobles are such pain to deal with. Am I going to act like him once I become a commoner? No, let's not imitate that part. Definitely not. While talking about these things, we headed over to the cooking spot. I see. Quite proper, this place. If you say so. I think it's terribly simple, though. Then again, my common sense doesn't work here. This is a crucial piece of information. After warning him to behave, I prepared the meal with the ingredients I received at the kitchen. Since I had an inkling that he'd be a glutton, I decided to make a somewhat bigger portion this time. Since the cook was also a big eater, she ate up almost everything I created at first. I'm a woman who's capable of learning. Come to think of it, you ain't using magic tools despite all that weird knowledge of yours, Miss Prodigy. I whirled around. Sup? He faltered even though I had just turned around. Do you know how to make magic tools? Look, there ain't no way I would. Told ya I'm an adventurer. Didn't I? I see. No luck. For me as someone who's interested in all kinds of things, I'd love to make my own magic tools. Anyway, I kinda feel like this guy is gradually treating me worse and worse. Let alone having touched a magic tool, I haven't even seen one so far, so it's the very definition of an unknown for me. I'm praying that I'll be able to take a look at one at least once before I die. You're exaggerating. Just how old are you anyway? Also, clocks are magic tools. No exaggeration. I might die tomorrow, and I know about clocks being magic tools. But, I don't have one. I'm not allowed to have it. I just know about it. The man fell silent. You saying her noble ladyship doesn't have any clocks? It's not wrong to call me a noble, or at least something like that. But in the end I'm seen as a freeloader, and thus don't get anything. Manners were the only thing driven into me, physically, until I turned 5. So I'm perfect at those if I feel like it. I don't really feel like taking lessons while being abused, and me having frantically learned out of a desire to get praised is part of my dark past. I'm going to dump my nobility anyway, and right now it's pretty much as if I've already discarded it, so it's no problem even if I don't do any of it either. Here. I caught the object tossed my way by reflex. This is. Gimme the thing I used for washing myself earlier in exchange for this. I got a watch in exchange for soap. From a straw to a millionaire. Chapter 13. I'm making lunch. You're sure skilled at this. Honestly, aren't you actually more amazing than any cook? The man commented. N0 value SP.C0M, but you see, this uses lots of magic arts. Okay, I'm quite aware that no one would be able to cut the ingredients so quickly. I mean, it totally looks like fantasy cooking as it's done in manga. Just when I ignite a fire to stir fry the veggies, you're casually using fire magic like it's nothing. Wait, is this really fire magic? Such fire magic actually existed? Also, what's up with you doing all of it without chanting? He's so damn noisy about everything. As soon as I took out the seasoning, he bent himself forward. Hey, what's that? What you use in there? Seasoning I made myself. This world doesn't have a term to express it. You're saying this world all the time, but what's the meaning? Not just manners had been driven into me until I was 5 years old, but also language. My vocabulary is at the level of an adult noble. However, my vocabulary doesn't possess a term that would describe this seasoning. That's the meaning. That's why I can't tell you how to call it. Gotcha. In short, it's an original, pretty much. It's not like I created it out of thin air, but after searching for similar ingredients and trying to create it in a similar way, I guess it might be proper to call it my original creation. Mayonnaise is a cryptic naming in the first place, isn't it? Once I sprinkled wine into the pan in the middle of frying. He leaned in even closer. Hey, what's that? Wine? Don't use wine for something like cooking. He roared. Actually it's something that's made to be used for cooking, I believe. The hell you're saying, you bundle of irrationality? It's a friggin' waste. Hand it over. Right now. I'll drink it. Dream on. This ain't anything a brat should have. He flooded me with another barrage of incomprehensible nonsense. I've just told you that it's something to be used for cooking. Didn't I? In the first place, this was quite difficult to make. Or did you think it's easy to make? You can make wine, as long as it's a homemade version. What? Are only folks with the necessary qualifications allowed to make liquor after all? Our cook didn't mention anything about something like that, though. Qualifications or anything like that is unnecessary. It's just that folk usually hide the manufacturing method. Oh my. While sending his saliva flying, the man snarled, in other words, you're saying you got that knowledge? The cook as well, I'd say. The people who helped me out, too. And the same applies for a part of the servants. After researching how to make it with everyone, we finally brought it up to a stage where it's drinkable. This was yet another reason why I improved my magic arts drastically. The man's shoulders slumped down in disappointment. What's wrong? In other words, you can make it as long as you can freely use high-level magic? Yep. I think it's also possible even without the ability to use magic arts. However, then it'll cost a lot of money, to put it simply. I see. High-level magic or enough money to compensate for it, huh? That's the idea. Brewery, yeast plant, natobacteria, lactic acid bacteria, acetobacteriaceae. Food culture is all about fermentation. I'm kidding. I'm just making up things. Sorry. But rotten food has turned into fermented food throughout history. After discovering mushrooms that are good for the body, mankind has started to cultivate only specific mushrooms. Those mushrooms were then improved into safe ingredients. Moreover, food has been developed after going through tons of hardships until it reached a point of being provided in mass without allowing saprophytes to multiply within. Huff huff pant pant. I feel like turning this into my meaning in life if it's so difficult to obtain it in this world, but for a child like me it's a pipe dream without a sponsor. Besides, I'm not really sure, but maybe it's due to the power of magic that the production of fermented foods using yeast is going well at present. Among the servants, liquor throws the men into a frenzy while women get frenzy over malt sugar. It's always leading to arguments whether we should make whiskey or starch syrup with the malt. If you stop the initial fermentation to create fruit wine halfway, it becomes a very sweet, carbonated juice. So the female group has been stopping the fermentation to enjoy the juice. It always makes me think that the people of this world should simply do more research if they like the stuff. While brooding about this, I finished cooking. I served mystery meat. It seems to be monster meat, stir-fried veggies with plenty of seasoning, and lightly roasted bread. Feel free to smear this here on the bread. Self-made soy milk butter. Since cows don't exist in this world, cow milk is no option. Luckily the other world me had come up with a soy milk-based butter when she studied various recipes for a friend with a milk allergy. It's different from normal butter, but this one is great as well. At first the man tasted the food cautiously, but in no time he started to wolf it down like a starving lion. Watching me smear the butter on the bread, he imitated it, and starting with the next slice, he thickly spread butter on the bread before tossing it into his mouth. Gimme wine, too, he then started to say. The component called alcohol contained in wine is addictive. Don't be such a nitpick about each and every single thing. I won't get addicted to it, so hand it over. Unwillingly I filled a cup and passed it to him. For your information, even if it doesn't need that many ingredients, it still requires a huge amount of labor and assiduous efforts. Got it? In response to my mumbled complaint, gotcha. I'll prepare an extraordinary magic tool for you. Please enjoy it to the fullest. I handed him the bottle and all. Girl, become a cook. Make liquor and sell it, he said with a serious look after finishing his lunch. Even when he was drinking the wine, he caused a huge ruckus. yelling. Even at the royal palace they don't serve wine like this. He's blowing up things. It's impossible as a young girl. I'll consider it if I live to become an adult. You're a child and not a young girl, right? Still, it'd be a waste for you to become an adventurer when you've got such a skill. Sighing, I said, I cannot trust the people of this world. The man froze. That's why I haven't added any jobs in the service business where you deal with other people. Among my job choices, I've taught the cook and servants about brewing and the making sweets, but it's not like they know all of it, and even if they did, they wouldn't be able to make it without me. Given that they won't be able to reproduce it without me, I've been making these things while getting them involved. On the other hand, they've been cooperating with me since the research results include things they want to enjoy or because it's something they're good at. That's completely different from trusting someone and telling them the full truth. Very likely the cook knows how to make the most of it, but without magic, it's difficult to make these well in this world. After all, it'd probably require a huge amount of money to prepare all the necessary facilities and tools. To begin with, I don't really know how to make the necessary tools anyway. So far I've been pretty much solving this issue with magic. Rather, it's only today that I've learned for the first time that I've been using magic arts. The cook or the servants could have told me. Really? Let's make a deal. He suddenly brought up, very likely the liquor made by you can only be made by you alone, so produce liquor and sell it to me. Of course I'll pay you twice the amount of the most expensive liquor available on the market. Not like I know the pricing around here, though. Liquor is a no-go. Just as I told you earlier, I'm handling the main part of the production, but procuring the ingredients, securing a site, controlling everything, and taking records is completely handled by our cook and the servants. No matter how much money you throw at me as someone unrelated to this, I can't sell it to you as long as the others don't agree. Gotcha. Take me to them right now. Unlike an oddball like you, they surely understand common sense. Stop. You'll put me on a spot. I got it. I can't guarantee you the volume, but if it's just a bit, they might show some flexibility. So I'll try asking them. Also, let me tell you in advance, but the liquor is alive. In other words, it can't be brewed instantly. It requires several months or even years, and has a tendency to become better the longer it rests. I won't say that this applies to all liquors, but it does for the majority. Huh? The man stared at me with his mouth agape. Liquor is something that takes time to grow. At least 1 year. The one you drank right now needed almost a year to cultivate safely without failing midway. Moreover, I wanted to let it rest for a year, but the men were so naggy about letting them drink it. So in exchange for giving up on my initial plan, we stocked up plenty recently, and I released this wine after making it a rule that the new stock would be cultivated for at least 3 years. The early brew is wine that hadn't been fully researched. The man swallowed. You're talking about the one you passed me earlier, right? What about that wine? The early brew is quite unripe. Well, since it's still a success, I've been using it for cooking. I mean, for cooking it's fine as long as it got alcohol, even if the fragrance and taste might be inferior. The man's face lit up. I don't mind the inferior wine, so sell it to me. Just the amount you can sell is cool with me. In exchange, I'm going to teach you common sense, and help you become an adventurer. Additionally, gimme some of the successful ones after 3 years too, or let me join its production. It'd become a hassle if you entered the mansion, so stay away. I'll sell you some of the ones I'll secure for myself, so stay away. We've got a deal. Probably, kind of. Chapter 14. All kinds of things happened throughout the following 3 years. It kinda sounds like a memorial poem that's recited during graduation, but really, it's been all kinds of things. I guess the worst was that man almost finding out about various things unrelated to what could have been exposed in specific. Everything would have been bad, but the alcoholic drinks, seasonings, and sweet food would have been a disaster. I somehow managed to avoid it by taking various defensive measures while conspiring with the booze and sweets-loving servants and maids. All of it was the fault of the dumb sword. He's got my gratitude for teaching me many new things, but he likewise caused me a lot of trouble. It's soon about time for the wine to be ready, right? Given that he recently started to repeatedly pester me about this, I decided to open up one barrel, although I wanted to let it rest for a bit longer. After a freeze disinfection treatment, I filtered the wine and bottled it up. As for the bottles, I ordered Sword to buy them since he kept meddling, poking his nose into the brewing matter in a fervent desire to take part in it. Asterisk. Liquor and distilled liquor. Latter might be impossible to make without me being around. If you tried to make it without magic, it'd require quite extensive facilities. Former is possible if you don't mind failures. All you have to do is to crush and mix the ingredients, and leave them alone after bottling it all up. Making sure that saprophytes don't breed is a major pain, though. I strictly ordered the cook and servants to store the bottles in a cold place, threatening them that it might turn into poison or rot if left out in a warm place, or explode in the worst case. Asterisk. The next day after I handed Sword the wine, time for me to head out soon, he suddenly informed me. Is it correct to assume that you mean leaving this area? Yep, I see. Now that he mentions it, this guy was an adventurer, wasn't he? Then again, I've never seen him do any adventuring. Most recently he's become more of a liquor warden. Wanna come with me? He asked, once again all of a sudden. It caused me to blink my eyes. You been planning to leave that mansion anyway, no? Or did you have a change of mind? If not, how about coming with me? I may look like this, but I'm a fairly decent adventurer, so I'll teach you the ropes while staying with you, if you become an adventurer. I had planned to leave the mansion in around 2 years. For women, puberty kicks in once they hit an age of 12. That still doesn't mean that I'd be an adult, but my body would have stopped growing to a certain extent, and it'd also clear up the changes in my physical condition after having entered this body. So I'd planned to act depending on that knowledge, but it's just that it'd be 2 years earlier than planned. Plans gonna miss is an essential part of life, right? So, you come in with me? He's got a point. Also, it's safer to go with a guide rather than traveling alone. I think the guide part overpowers the difference of 2 years. Okay, I'll go with you. When I agreed while looking straight into his eyes, Sword laughed out loud. As usual, you got no femininity whatsoever, totally acting like a guy. Anyway, let's go then. He held out his hand, but I slapped it away. N0vlisp.c0m. Hey, you think I could go with you on a Beck's call? Even if I might have been a freeloader, I've still got to settle quite a few things. This guy has kept me company for 3 years, but he's as selfish and whimsical as on the first day. How often does he think that this character of his has given me trouble? The time for preparation is too little on all accounts, but I must get at least some things ready. Asterisk. Then again, most things were not really all that important. I borrowed some clothes and tossed them into the wonderful magic item called magic bag I had received from Sword. Afterwards I visited the kitchen. Spotting me, the cook stopped what she was doing, seemingly having perceived that something unusual was going on, and came up to me. I'm sorry, the liquor brewing is over. I've decided to leave this mansion together with Sword. Is that so? Then allow me to deeply thank you for having graced us with imparting your magnificent wisdom upon us until now, Lady Indra. What shall we do about the remaining liquor? Do as you see fit. I'm not going to stop you from brewing or anything. I think it's going to become fairly difficult without magic, but if you simply let it ripe after crushing the ingredients and allowing them to ferment, if you sterilize the storage containers with hot water, and if you don't mind a change in taste, I think it should be possible for you to still brew. You people are rather interested in drinking it right away than allowing its taste to mature by storing it away. The cooks burst out into laughter, and then bowed her head once more. What? You're letting me go so easily? I had clearly expected you to hold me back from leaving. The cook smiled wryly. We have been informed about this matter in advance by Sir Sword. He told us that he would take you with him, and that we should take your future course in life into account. Huh? He did that? Unexpectedly he wasn't someone following sudden impulses. I see. If he has told you about it in advance, he must have given it some thought, I guess. Keep the recipe hidden. However, you're free to do whatever you want with it and its results. That's all you'll hear from me. My lady. Please make sure to lead a healthy and happy life for many years to come. I shrugged my shoulders. I don't know about the part with the many years to come, This world is anything but kind. While the cook had become speechless, I loosely waved a hand at her. As far as sword laying the groundwork for me was concerned, it saved me a lot of trouble as I didn't have to call together each and every single servant since he likely informed the rest of the staff, too. The last one remaining was the last boss, Earl Springcoat, the master of the house. His daughter always pounced on me whenever she found me, even when I tried to steer clear of her, but her father stayed away from me for most of the time. Oh, I found a butler. What about Earl Springcoat? He is currently in his office. Then I'll go to bid my farewell to him. The butler's eyes widened, and then he bowed deeply at me. If I leave without extorting at least a small sum of money in celebration of my departure, I won't be able to get my revenge for my mother, right? For the sake of your mother, you say? As a means to extort some money from him. Yep. When I answered with a laugh, the butler revealed an awfully cramped and forced smile. After leading me up to the office's door, the butler knocked and informed that man about the reason for my visit. Lady Indra has said that she would like to bid her farewell. What? I stepped into the room, facing him, who had turned around with a puzzled expression, with a scornful laugh. Good day, Earl Springcoat. It is my great pleasure to still see you in fine health despite your senility. I, Indra, have decided to officially take my leave from this mansion on this occasion. As such, I am calling upon you to receive but a small amount of a congratulatory gift for my departure. That man stared at me in a daze. Who are you? Wow, it looks like his senility has become so bad that he doesn't even know who I am. Huh? It appears that your dementia has progressed quite a bit since our last meeting. I have introduced myself just moments ago, but allow me to remind you, my name is Indra. What have you done with your hair? Why is he bringing up my hair now of all times? I have been using this haircut for the last 3 years. I asked your daughter to cut them for me. Primrose did this? As if she'd do something like that. Why are you deciding things to be as they suit you? Even an old, demential man like you should know that you cannot change the truth of it being sunny outside just by insisting that it's raining. He started to audibly grind his teeth. I'm not here to talk about something as unimportant as your daughter having cut my hair because you wouldn't give me money to get it cut by a barber. Cough up the jewelry of the dead woman and the allowance you didn't pay me so far. I've been telling you that I'm leaving this place, so get going and hand over the cash with a little extra on top. That'll be the end of our relationship. You're happy that you can cut your ties with me, right? So, pay up. Me saying so caused him to become dumbfounded. Why? Why you were a man? What are you babbling about, you demential geezer? Let me tell you once more. I breathed in deeply, and clearly stated, hand over the cash. You heard me now? As if having come to his senses all of a sudden, he started to shout at me. There's no way I'd do that, is there? In the first place, you say you're leaving this place? It's impossible for you to make a living after leaving this house, isn't it? He probably thought that lame ending would impress me or something. That's none of your concern. I forbid it. It's not your choice to make. What was that? I'm very clear on who gave birth to me. But, you said it yourself in the past, didn't you? You might have forgotten because of your dementia, but my brain cells are still young and working, so I remember how you told me. You don't know whether I'm your father, do you? Why would I, the daughter of a woman who used to be the daughter of a ducal house, need permission from you, an earl who denies being related to me? He was furiously gritting his teeth, seething with anger. You not being my father is convenient for me. However, you have embezzled and stolen the jewelry and money you should have handed over to me after my mother of ducal origin died, haven't you? Give it back. All of it. The man was lost for words, standing stock still, apparently frozen on the spot. At that moment, the butler, who had gone off somewhere without me noticing, returned and bowed. Over here you have the allowance and inheritance that is rightfully yours, as well as her ladyship's jewelry, Lady Indra. That man and I simultaneously stared at the butler. Hannibal, master. The butler stared at that man with an unusually blood-curdling look. Unable to endure your and her ladyship's treatment, Lady Indra collapsed after her body and mind broke down, and yet she miraculously came back to life. And then she turned her back on you, master, and decided to leave this house, even if it meant discarding her nobility. She has put that decision into practice as of today. The only thing you can do is to kindly send her off. I believe you should also be able to understand as much. The man trembled in furious anger, but then he suddenly grabbed one of the bags the butler had brought with him, and flung it on the floor. There you go, pick it up, like the beggar you are. Hurry it up and get out of my eyes. He made a huge racket as he ranted, so I kicked up the bag, making it smash against his jaw, just to fly right into my hands. Just as planned. Good job, me. The man groaned while holding his jaw. How about you drop everything on the floor? I'll kick up all of it so that it lands in my hands, of course after hitting you. I told him coldly, but probably because the pain was too much for him to bear. He didn't reply, nor did he carry out my suggestion. Since it couldn't be helped, I took the rest directly from the butler. My lady, if you wish to liquidate her ladyship's jewelry, would it be alright for you to do it right now and here? Sure. Very well, then please take this in exchange. Heavy. It would cause some trouble if the jewelry of a lady, who used to be the wife of an earl and the daughter of a ducal house, was to circulate in the city. That seems to be the issue here. Personally, I'm fine with it as long as it's money, or to be more precise, I'm fine as long as it's enough money to allow me to lead a normal life. Just when I had put the money into my magic bag and started to walk off, elder sister, is it really true that you're going to leave? Primrose aka Birdbrain burst into the room. Yes, it is. Make sure to do your best at learning noble etiquette. Goodbye. No way. Don't go. Dream on. I don't wanna stay in this mansion a second longer. I'm here, am I not? And yet you still want to leave? If you tell me that you and that man get lost after making me the head of the family, I can put some consideration into staying, I suppose. In response, Primrose started to tremble, and screamed, Elder sister, I totally can't stand you. BFFT, I laughed through my nose, then I'll pay you back by coming clean. I never liked you, and it doesn't look like this is going to ever change. So we're equal on this. Everyone in the room froze when I made that declaration. Elder sister, you dummy. Primrose yelled while shaking furiously, and then dashed out of the room. Now then, time to go. Huh? All nuisances are gone, so I'm going to get out of here quickly. Asterisk. Once I arrived at the usual spot, he was already waiting for me. Surprisingly early, aren't you? No, that's what I should tell you, right? I couldn't tell how much time and effort it'd take to extract the money, but it went unexpectedly smoothly. On the way here I ran into the small accident of getting caught by the head maid. Somehow I got a farewell gift from her. She said that it was from her, the butler, and the other servants. Change of clothes and money. As she explained it with, it is our thanks for the delicious cooking, liquor, and sweets. I accepted it without reservation. I think it's easy to make starch syrup, so please keep the sweets coming without paying any heed to the liquor team. Okay, let's go then. Don't slap me this time. Gotcha? He held out his hand once again. Accepting my fate, I reluctantly grasped it. It's true that I'm a child, but I think it wouldn't be all that wrong to describe me as a lady at the age of 10. Don't you think? So why would we need to hold hands? A child shouldn't act like a grown-up, so give it a rest, will you? It doesn't fit your character, you know. What kind of character does he believe me to be? When I directed a glare at him, he laughed and stroked my hair. Chapter 15. Oh, it's come in sight. Yahoo! We've finally reached a town. 1 month has already passed since I left home, going up and down the mountains like we were doing some kind of ascetic training out in the wild. We pushed our way through trackless paths, just to arrive at a human habitation at long last. Yep, somehow it feels like living in the mountains might actually work, is what I had started to believe at some point. But that's not what I've been aiming for with leaving home. Otherworld sightseeing. I want to go around this new world and look at what it's got to offer. I mean, wouldn't it be pearls thrown before swine if I didn't do that? With all the gold coins I obtained jingling in my bag. For starters, we're going to the guild to get you registered as an adventurer. Then we can talk about what to do next. Sword ruffled up my hair. Is something wrong? Sword had suddenly looked at me with a somewhat cryptic expression. "No, not really. It's just us arriving at a human settlement for the first time in a few dozen days, and yet your hair's so tidy. And zero value SP.C0M. Don't state the obvious. Filthiness is an enemy. No matter where we went, I always took a shower. If I were to choose a place to settle down, it's got to have a bath I can enter whenever I feel like it. I can totally tell a thing or two about it. You've forced me to do the same every day. Smelly blokes are unpopular. You really have no cuteness in you." He grabbed my head with an iron claw. "Yikes. Back at you. How are you behaving towards a lady?" "Just where's that lady you speaking of?" "A lady would never use something like smelly bloke when describing a gentleman." Asterisk. At a place appearing to be a checkpoint, Sword showed a sparky, silver plate with a gem embedded to a governmental official. The official's eyes widened, and after looking back and forth between the plate and Sword many times over, he bowed. "This one's with me. I'll vouch for her. We plan to have her register at the guild, so please let her pass." "Why yes." I stared at Sword and the official in alternation. "Please tell me the common customs for this here." Checkpoints are set up at the entrances of most cities and towns for times of emergencies or when criminals are trying to get inside. So, everyone gets inspected. They'll write down who you are, where you come from, why you're here, and when you plan to leave. The adventurer card issued by the guild also works as identification, so you'll get a pass most of the times when showing it. I see, he explained in a way making it easy to understand the conversation between him and the official just now. Once we passed the checkpoint, a fantasy world awaited me beyond. It's kinda like I've come to a World Heritage Village during a vacation abroad. The buildings were square with the rudimentary walls made out of dirt. Since all of them look the same, I'd definitely get lost here. "I'm gonna leave you behind if you dawdle round." He hit my head. "No problem. I'll be able to meet up with you as long as I go to the Adventurer Guild." Upon my answer, he intently stared at me with his eyes narrowed down to a thin line. "I really take my hat off to how calm you always act, without a shred of childishness." We went to the guild and I got registered. It seems like getting a card issued goes much smoother if an adventurer acts as chaperone for you. Smooth and without any problem whatsoever. It's different from the card you own, isn't it? "Naturally. Ain't no way it'd be the same for me as for a newbie adventurer, right?" The people around us laughed. "It's only natural for you. I don't know any of it." Before telling me what's natural or not, explain things in advance. When I talked back to Sword, those around us became dumbfounded. Sword shrugged his shoulders. "Your card is the basic one." "My card is special." "Eh? You committed a crime, and because of that." "Hey, you bundle of absurdity. That's an unwarranted accusation." "Eek. It's just been a joke." Another iron claw. Asterisk. Sword. I secretly took a deep breath while messing round with her. Once I say this, she's probably gonna resent, scold, and blame me. But, at this rate, it's gonna be bad for her. She's strangely smart and got enough talent alone in her to call herself a prodigy, but she's still a 10-year-old girl. If she only hangs round adults, she won't be able to make any friends of her age, resulting in her becoming isolated more and more. Since she was finally able to get out of that environment, I want her to find friends she can trust and accumulate lots of experience as a young adventurer. It'd suck if she became like me. I let go of her hand, took a step back, and told her, "Okay then, this is where we part." As you can see, I'm a big shot, so, because of the huge difference between a newbie adventurer like you and a veteran like me, I won't be able to keep you company any longer. Don't show yourself in front of me until you found new friends, created a party with them, and reached at least C rank. I had intended to say this with a carefree tone, but just as I'd expected, her face froze. After looking at me for a while, apparently not understanding what I meant, her eye color suddenly intensified, and she burst into laughter while brushing her forelocks up. "Okay, she's pissed. Let's see what she's going to hurl at me." I can't imagine her bawling. But if she actually does, I'm not sure whether I'll be able to hold on to my determination. I see. This was the first sentence that left her mouth. As I thought, You can't trust any of the people of this world. Muttering that, she abruptly erased all expressions from her face, and turned on her heels without saying anything else, quickly leaving the guild without a single word. Scorn rather than blame and scolding was an option as well. Huh? I thought while watching her small, upright back that never turned around again. Chapter 16. I knew it. The people of this world basically don't care about others. A mother who continued to swing her whip, rebuking and blaming her child for its father not coming back home, let alone not praising the child for making an effort to do as told while desiring her praise. A father who had a child with another woman since he hated his wife, just to nonchalantly come back once his wife croaked to take over the house and continued to insult his wife's daughter with cruel slander. A younger sister who flaunted the presents she got from her father while fully aware that her elder sister from a different mother was given nothing out of spite. Servants who indifferently watched it all happen as if being unrelated bystanders. The people of this world won't move a single finger if it's not for their own benefit. Even the guy from before had taken a young noble lady, who didn't know how society worked as she hadn't even once visited the town close to her mansion, to a distant town while she still didn't understand a thing, and quickly discarded her right there. I'm sure he hasn't even considered for a single moment whether she'd be able to survive herself. In that case, it'd have been better to remain in the mansion for another 2 years while gathering information from the nearby town and accumulating experience, before leaving the mansion after having put all preparations in order. I really botched this one. After clicking my tongue, I put on my business smile and spoke up to the woman at the reception. Pretty lady, I'd love you to tell me a few things. Would that be okay? When I spoke up to her while emanating an aura of innocence, yep, imitating Primrose, the lady at the reception blushed. Wait, she's blushing? Why? Well, whatever. I asked her what I should do first after becoming an adventurer. In other words, I'm G rank, so I should first take on requests available to a G rank. Huh? The purchase is over there, and they'll buy up all the materials other than the items specified in the request after an assessment. I see, it's the standard template. As G rank I can only collect things, pick up trash or clean. I'm good at cleaning since I can do it with magic. But currently I can't stand the idea of doing work that would bring joy to the people of this world. And I'd be troubled if I felt an urge to kill them after they started to complain about my work being sloppy. I'll take the collection requests. They're permanent and don't have a time limit, right? It'd be a pain if they had to be handed in before the day was over. Correct. But, if you take too much time, the freshness of the medicinal plants you picked up is going to deteriorate, which might lead to the request failing. Got it. So it's okay for me to gather a bigger amount. And 0vlisp.c0m. A big smile as service, and a big service for you as well, miss. If you like I can contact a reliable party I know of, and introduce you to them. I got startled when she brought this up. What's with her voice that totally sounds like that of a local guide's bribed recommendation to a certain shop? No, I have absolutely no interest in joining up with anyone. The people of this can't be trusted after all. I clearly turned her offer down. The lady looked disappointed. But she glanced sideways. I see. Thanks for your help, miss. Huh? Wait a moment. After erasing my smile and coldly giving her my thanks, I left the place. In short, the group she wanted to introduce me to was already awaiting me. But no thanks, I don't want to go along with such a shady invitation. After leaving the guild, I headed back the way I used before, arriving at the checkpoint. Ooh, lad, I'm no lad, for heaven's sake. I'm not a lad, but Indra. Here you go, my adventurer card. I'd like to go outside. I'll be back tomorrow. The official looked around while bewildered. Huh? Outside? And you say you'll be back tomorrow? I'm going to gather medicinal plants. No, I mean, you'll be back today then, right? The gate will be closed at night, so it'll be difficult to come back here, you know? Wouldn't it be better to wait until tomorrow morning? I'm scared of what the people of this world would do to me if I were to spend the night in town. So no thanks. The official was taken aback when I answered him melodiously. Chapter 17. Sword. The receptionist apologized to me. I'm sorry. I failed. She's got a tad of a quick temper, so no problem. I answered her with a sullen face. No, isn't it actually your fault considering the way you phrased it? The guildmaster hissed. Has shut it. Okay, I'll admit that I messed up a bit. Not only have you messed up, you actually abandoned her, didn't you? The guildmaster rebutted after having watched the whole scene earlier. I staggered, holding my chest as his words had deeply stabbed my heart. He'd completely and utterly hit bullseye. The idea that you can simply make her get some friends is ridiculous. You make friends with others naturally. Then again, I guess you've got no clue how that works since you're a loner. Having this bluntly remark thrust at me, I felt like shit. So, where did she go? She accepted a gathering request and left just like that. Several parties tried to call out to her, but she didn't even spare a look at them. Figures. Even I wouldn't be able to get along with some random folks right after the guy, whom I depended on to the extent of coming all the way here, told me I'm awesome. So farewell. Shut up. My visual field became blurry because of the tears welling up in my eyes. Ugh. That girl is so pitiful. I'm pretty sure anyone with a weak mentality would have killed themselves right then and there. I rushed out of the guild. Looking round, I searched for her but couldn't spot her anywhere. Having accepted a request means she left town already? But it's evening. No wait, that girl can immediately finish the request with her abilities. Asking the gatekeeper, he confirmed my suspicion. However, the gatekeeper tilted his head, looking somewhat mystified. I tried to stop her, telling her that it'd be better to not go out at this time of the day since the gate would be closed for the night, but she told me that she's scared of what the people of this world would do to her if she were to spend the night in town. Maybe I've misheard her though. Oh damn. It's become a far more serious issue than I thought. It looks like she went right beyond scorn, straight for distrust of other human beings. Letting alone having her make friends, she got a start from being able to believe in other people. God damn it. Anyway, first I gotta find her. When I searched for magic element responses, I found a ridiculously large cluster in like no time. Smack down in the forest where it was common for monsters to pop out. As I continued to carefully advance, I discovered a moron sleeping under a big tree while lying spread-eagled. What's that girl thinking? She hasn't even put up a barrier, simply sleeping there like that. However, it's kinda baffling why she's not getting attacked either. Either way, she ain't sticking to a single damn thing I taught her. Hey. Somehow I got pissed off and called out to her, but she didn't even twitch. Why are you sleeping in a place like this? You eager to die or something? She ignored me. Should I give this moron a good kick? Why you not sticking to anything I taught you? I told you, and camping, keep a fire going, have one person stand watch at all times, sleep in shifts, and in case of being solo, protect yourself as much as possible by deploying a barrier. Didn't I? In the first place, I told you, find a party and make your way up to C rank. So why are you sleeping out here by yourself? She kept sleeping without a single change on her face, and then I sensed how the magic elements around her were rapidly getting thicker. Tsk, do whatever you want then. If you wanna croak out here, it's up to you. I told her bluntly, and left. Or rather, pretended to leave while in fact watching over her from the shadows. Why the hell must I do something like guarding her from the shadows? If she gets attacked by a monster, I ain't going to her rescue until she's half dead. That girl's not even twitching. She's not dead already or something, right? The sky became faintly bright. In the end, not a single monster had shown up. I don't really think that this forest is such a safe place, though. Well, it's got only monsters I can handle with ease. And her as well, but the monsters round here aren't such lax enemies that you could sleep without a damn care. Even though they're weak, there should be many of them round, and yet not one popped out all night long. Did the ecosystem round here change? As I stifled a yawn while feeling sleepy, she woke up. After carefully stretching, she folded and put the cloth she'd spread out away, and strolled off. Seeing how she made a beeline for the spot with the medicinal plants, She apparently knew the location. After harvesting them, she went back to town. Asterisk. In other words, I underestimated the environment she grew up in. When her mother died, her father came back with his daughter from another mother, and while doting on the new girl, he treated her cruelly. It was a story you'd often hear among nobility, so I thought this was the full extent of it. However, she was on the brink of hating all human beings because of that, and I delivered the finishing blow. The guildmaster in this town is quite easygoing, and I'd also partied with him for some time in the past. His flexibility to accommodate her was the reason why I brought her to this place to get her registered. I even had selected a party for her to join in advance. Ability-wise she's well beyond C rank, but since it's kinda impossible to have her join up with C-rank folk as a newly registered adventurer, I picked an E-rank party of girls who are all 2 or 3 years older than her. With her strength, she'd leave E-rank, let alone F-rank, behind in a whiff. She's got a nasty mouth, but since she takes care of others, it might have resulted in her actually looking after them. Thinking about it like that, I checked back with the guildmaster, refined the plan, and carried it out. But yep, it was a complete failure. No matter what she's been told by anyone, at this point she only gets her business done, leaves, and lives in the forest while completely ignoring everyone round her to such an extent that you'd think she's actually shutting out any sound with magic. It sounds like she plans to leave this place once she reaches F rank. That's the information a reception girl got out of her for me. She also seems to be wary of the girl who welcomed her first, completely avoiding her nowadays. I got totally scolded for that with her been on the verge of tears. Doesn't that cutie totally hate me now? When talking with one of the others, she always smiles, and yet, she becomes expressionless as soon as she spots me, you know. Do you know how much that hurts me? Consider yourself lucky since she still allows you to make eye contact with her. Someone like me is air. She doesn't meet my gaze, okay? It goes so far that I actually wonder how she pulls it off. I mean, it's like I don't exist for her. I've been even considering whether I should beg for her forgiveness at this point. But even if air like me apologizes, she very likely, no, definitely won't even listen to me. It's set in stone that she's gonna walk away on me in the middle of my apology. In the end, I clung to the guildmaster in tears, trying to have him intervene in my favor. Won't you forgive Sword? That guy is clumsy, and although he acted with your benefit in mind, it backfired on him, and now he's regretting it all. Who was that again? Come to think of it, there was some dude calling himself a big shot. I've already forgotten about that person. What should I forgive? I don't think there's anything that would require my forgiveness. And 0VLOSB.C0M. If you put it like that, it'd even stab my heart, you see? Well, anyway, if you're no longer angry with him, could you deal with him normally? He's also reflecting on what he's done. Wait, I deal with him normally. You know, I treat him normally as person of this world I mustn't ever trust. Well, I don't trust any humans of this world without any discrimination. If they have some use to me, they lend to my field of vision, but I don't bother looking at people without value, and I also make sure to not perceive whatever sounds they make, she declared while staring with cold eyes at the guildmaster. That's why I'm dealing with him normally without being angry or anything like that. I'm just living my life as I please according to my own ideas. Well, I believe that someone like me is going to die sooner or later anyway in a world overflowing with such humans. This world is really a shithole with nothing worth seeing, isn't it? In the middle of her speech, I felt like using the spell for shutting out sounds which I had memorized. After finishing the conversation and coming back, the guildmaster glared at me. Dude, just what the hell did you tell the girl for her to be so deep in darkness? That's already an illness. It's impossible for me to persuade a child who's fallen so deep. What should I do then? How the hell should I know? Basically, she was maltreated by her parents under the pretext of discipline. Only the daughter of another mother was favored. She had her hair cut in a way that she'd be mistaken for an ordinary boy by anyone since she had no money to get it cut properly despite being a girl. And on top of that, as soon as that noble girl, who called herself a freeloader on her own account, was brought to town by a man, Who took her out of that home? She was told by that very man to get lost right after registering at the Adventurer Guild. That means she trusted you after you showed up in a place with no one she could trust, and yet you completely double-crossed her. In the first place, I don't know whether your head actually works when you thought that a noble girl, who's completely ignorant of the world, would be only depressed when suddenly being told something like I'm more awesome than you. So farewell after having been taken to a commoner town. For a long time now, you always pissed off others by dropping lines that easily went beyond being insensitive, didn't you? This time it's not only you being hated, but it's actually reached a level of her being ill and on the verge of death. My heart completely broke, and I bawled like a little brat. At long last, that girl encountered monsters. Moreover, quite the ferocious ones. It was a huge wolf monster called Giant Wolf. I thought that I'd immediately save her if she got into trouble, but yep, instant death. I knew it. If you don't attack me, I won't go out of my way to come for you, okay? She told the monsters, making me want to retort, what are you trying to show off for with monsters as your opponents? Of course, the monsters ignored it, and swooped down on her. Neck chop, done. By the way, the weapon used by her was a handmade wooden sword. She named it Bokto or something like that. A thin, single-edged blade. Then again, a wooden sword's blade doesn't have any sharpness, and yet, she easily cuts things apart with it, though I've got no clue how she does it. Oh, maybe it's a magic weapon. She trussed the dead monsters into her magic bag, went back to town, selling the corpses at the guild. She's been drawing a lot of attention. It's because she showed up here with me. So yeah, I'm a big shot, and not just someone calling himself one. I'm the adventurer's idolized Thunderclap White Fang sword. And yet she's calling me self-proclaimed big shot. Isn't that way too mean? Having appeared with a man like me, she got chatted up by all kinds of people for various reasons, ranging from party invitations to picking a fight with her in the name of teaching her the ropes, but she ignored all of it. Since the folks, who got ignored, weren't overly amused, they got even more aggressive in their approach, but she ignored that as well. It's a violation of the rules for higher-ranking folks to mess with a G rank for no reason, and thus, thanks to the guild staff applying pressure by making full use of their glares, it luckily didn't develop into a problem. But, you say you hunted a high-ranking monster as a G rank? You're obviously lying. This piece of shit here swiped my prey. In the end she got into a fight with one of the rowdier folk. I secretly prevented the guild staff from interfering. If I make my entrance here, it's going to improve her opinion of me. It's a chance to redeem myself. She's been ignoring the bloke, but when he blocked her way, she finally lifted her face in annoyance. Pipsqueak, hurry up and fork over the money. It's mine. You cheekily took the prey I killed, came back here, and sold it. You a pesky thief. Missy. He had probably intended to ridicule her with the final Missy. But that girl is a genuine young lady after all. The other adventurers were watching the show in amusement. Some of them even spurred on the guy to go further. Just when I stepped forward, thinking that it was about time for me to intervene, she proposed, I understand. In other words, you're telling me to lop off your head, and prove that the cut end of the monster I sold earlier and the cut end at your neck are the same, right? Oh shit. Her magic elements are swelling up. In the first place, it's questionable whether you can even cut anything with the wooden stick hanging at. In the next instant, I threw a nearby table at the man. The man got blown away after the table slammed into him, and within the next split second, the sword she'd drawn bisected the table. Using all my speed, I wedged myself between the man and her while drawing my own sword. At that moment, she swung her sword, targeting my neck. The damn lunatic is seriously going for the kill. I parried her slash with my sword, but she cut at my neck with so much strength that I was about to get pushed back. When I tried to force her back, our eyes met. After not having looked at me for a long time, her eyes met mine. Looking into those eyes I saw no sadness or anger, but only the cold will to kill an opponent. In that moment I knew that this girl would become a world-famous murderer if left alone. She'd kill those trying to harm her without a shred of mercy. She'd also kill those trying to prevent her from doing so. That would be her path of righteousness. Once I started to chant a spell in a whisper, she swiftly distanced herself, apparently wary of the magic. The instant I finished the spell to strengthen my body, I received a barrage of attacks. This girl is a major pain in the ass since she can use taijutsu in addition to swordsmanship. Slashing with the sword, kicking with her feet, and striking with her elbows. And top of all that, she'll friggin' use magic without chanting. The unprecedented case of an S rank getting killed by a G rank looks likely to happen here. When I was about to take a hit at long last after being pushed into a purely defensive battle, if you continue this any longer, I'll have you pay a fine. As soon as the guild master yelled this, she suddenly stopped. And accompanied by a click of her tongue, she kicked off the floor, taking some distance. I unconsciously spat out a deep sigh. The fine only applies to that man and the one over there, right? I just tried to show proof that I truly hunted the monster myself. Have the guy who made the request, and the guy who got in the way, pay up. She calmly told the guild master. I know, none of it is your fault. The guy who destroyed the guild's furniture by throwing it is the main offender here. So, please cease your rampage, okay? She finally sheathed her sword. Well, even without her sword, she's quite capable of hand-to-hand combat and magic warfare. Seeing her leave the guild, the adventurers opened a path for her while nervously drawing back. It looks like they've finally realized that the girl they've been underestimating all this time is actually someone ridiculously powerful. Take a hint from me having brought her along. Asterisk. Hey, are you okay? I sure don't think so, but it seemed like you were in quite a predicament there. It's just as you've seen, I was in a pinch. She excelled me by leaps and bounds in close combat. The peanut gallery went astir. I'm still better than her when it comes to speed, but when it comes to power, let's say we're even. She'd still lose to peerless strength. As for magic arts, I'd have a chance for victory if I could finish chanting a big spell without her noticing and landing it on her, but if not, no one can win against her. I think it'd be even impossible for Bloody Witch. Everyone who heard my words froze on the spot. Is she human? No clue, but the folks who seem to be her parents are human, I guess. She herself probably won't be willing to admit it, but she resembles her father perfectly, if not for her hair and eyes. Her mother seems to have been the daughter of a duke, so I'd say she's a human. Hey, you've kidnapped a young lady from a ducal house? Stop it with the groundless slander. She herself told me that it was her wish to leave. Besides, her father doesn't recognize her as his daughter, and she doesn't recognize him as her father either, so it's fine either way. So you brought along a sheltered noble lady, who grew up in a brutal environment while possessing superhuman strength that seems capable of suppressing an S rank, and then pushed her aside. Now listen. How about you think about the trouble you're causing to us with this? If you release such a dangerous girl into the wild, you'll never know what she's going to do. Moreover, even if she causes a mess, no one will be able to stop her through physical or political means. You better put a rope around her neck and manage her properly, you damn fool. I got totally trashed by the guild master, though I couldn't talk back since he was correct in all aspects. Chapter 18. Are you going to collect today too? The governmental official at the gate asked me. Recently, I've become acquainted with him. No, I decided to leave this town. I see. Well, that's how adventurers operate, I suppose. Though I think it's somewhat too early for you. Anyway, be careful out there. You've got an appearance like a lovely girl after all. Like a girl? What's with the like there? Oh well, whatever. So, do you have a direction you would recommend? What's up with that? Let's see. If you head in that direction you'll find a flourishing town called Leia. Its prosperity also means that the guild offers lots of requests. I see, thanks. When I started to walk off, the official called out to me in a hurry. Hey, that's the opposite direction. That's why, doing the opposite of what the people of this world recommend is the correct choice. After grinning at him over my shoulder, I walked away without looking back anymore. Asterisk. Suddenly my legs froze. It looks like they had magic cast on them. But, I can break something of this level in an instant. Just as I thought that, something rolled over at my feet. It was my fault. Please forgive me. Please, for heaven's sake, please. I'm terribly sorry. I was dumbfounded. It seems prostrating yourself on the ground exists in this world as well. Prostrating himself, or rather, clinging to my legs. Moreover. He's crying, despite being a grown man. I drew back. The man timidly lifted his face, and furthermore, clawed his way upwards, kinda like a zombie would crawl up your legs. Scary. I'm very sorry. As I felt a chill run down my spine, I reflexively slapped his mug. Disgusting. Asterisk. Disgusting. Ain't the first thing you'd say to someone apologizing to you, is it? Get away from me since you're disgusting. I tried to draw away from him as far as possible by averting my face, but he was strangely powerfully glued to me, and even when I pushed him away, he remained coiled around me. Disgusting. Stop repeating that word all the time. I'll let go of you if you forgive me. What am I supposed to forgive you? That's what I mean. You misunderstood me. So please let me explain. I didn't mean to betray your trust. I had absolutely no intention to discard you or anything after coming to town. It's just, even if a newbie adventurer like you were to party up with an S rank like me, you wouldn't be able to learn the basics of adventuring. You were a self-alleged big shot, weren't you? It ain't self-alleged. Don't say it like I'm scum. You might not know what an S rank is, but, as far as I can imagine, it's a rank you obtain after having your abilities and achievements approved as an A rank. Something like that? It's just as you say, Humphrey, so S ranks exist after all. Huh? That's why I took measures allowing you to learn what being an adventurer is about by partying with folk close in rank to you. I've got a friendly relationship with the guildmaster in this town, so I'd be able to inconvenience him to an extent. I've been just laying the groundwork, according to him. Bring me to this place, greater than have me temporarily separate from sword and form a party with girls close to me in age, who were recommended by the guild, greater than do requests while repeatedly piling up mistakes as normal for beginners and having a good time with the girls, greater than party up with sword again after accumulating some experience. That was apparently the plan he'd set up. Besides, you're somehow precocious and you weirdly act like a grown-up because you were always surrounded by adults, right? You don't have any friends your age, so I thought you'd make some friends on this occasion. I wonder how I should answer this. First of all, I'd like to straighten out some things. You don't make friends by having them assigned to you. People become your friends naturally. You don't get it because you're a loner without any friends yourself. But even if you have some random people assigned to you, it's not said that you'll get along with them. And as a matter of fact, it didn't look like I'd ever become friends with my little sister as we didn't get along at all. I don't want to be called loner by you as well. Oh, it sounds like someone already told him. Now on to the main issue. Considering all that, why didn't you tell me? What you did was not only to bring a young noble lady, who had never visited a town, to a completely unknown place instead of some place in her family's territory, but you also discarded her right there. In such a case, it'd have been better for me to turn down your invitation, investigate a nearby city over the next 2 years, and leave home by myself after getting everything in perfect order. Since I thought you'd act as my guide, I left 2 years earlier than planned while being ill-prepared, and yet I was abandoned by you without having been taught anything. So what did you think would happen after doing all that? That's why I'm regretting for having made a mistake. I'm entirely to blame here. I'm sorry. I see, so that's why he started to talk about forgive me and I'm regretting. Or rather, what did he expect me to do while not knowing all that? I've now understood why the guildmaster said please forgive him and why the receptionist, who welcomed me at first, said there's a party I'd like to introduce to you. But that's the point. Why didn't you personally tell me, we'll go to a guild where my friend works as guild master. First learn the basics of adventuring over there by forming a party with girls who I'm going to introduce to you. It'll be a case since I've properly talked it over with the other parties. They're all girls close to you in age, so it might be possible for you to befriend them as well? He was at a loss for words. I panicked. Huh? Immediately following, he stood up and hugged me. You see, I've gotten to like you quite a bit. Damn it, don't make me say it. Why would you have to enter some low-level party just to learn the basics of the basics? Even without knowing all that, you've already got strength rivaling an S rank, so wouldn't it be just fine for you to always party with me? But, since the guild master complained that you'd need to be able to handle things on your own for the time when I'd be gone, I put on that act earlier. It couldn't be helped. And then I didn't know how to bring it up with you, freaked out, and said some weird shit. What the heck? I didn't understand a thing. Maybe the translation of the otherworld language is malfunctioning? Anyway, I've made up my mind. I'll keep looking after you myself. From the start, no one has looked after me. Up until now I did. Didn't I? I'm your teacher. No? Huh? What are you blabbing? I've told you to show me various things as part of a deal we struck, but I don't remember having ever asked you to take me as your pupil. To begin with, what kind of teacher are you supposed to be? My martial and the magic arts are all self-taught, you know. I had you show me your stances and spells, but not once did I ask you to teach me anything, nor did I imitate you. I mean, honestly, what you showed me didn't even serve as a reference because our methods are way too different. And zero value SP.C0M, you're terrible. He kept hugging me even tighter while saying so. This middle-aged dude is a child, huh? Okay, I get it. You had a proper reason and you didn't abandon me. Since your plan didn't go well, you'll act as my guide. That's what you're saying, right? Yes, I've understood the reason now. So it'd be alright for me to enter that girl party or whatever, and have them teach me the ropes while enjoying my time. Even if they might have selfish characters, I'd be more willing to overlook it for them than some middle-aged guy since they're still children. You're terrible, he told me once more. Chapter 19, Sword. Just so you know, I was thinking of leaving the town. Pulling Indra against her will, I headed back towards the town. You said you wanna sightsee, didn't you? That won't work if you hole up yourself out in the woods all the time. There's no way that I could sleep in places overrun by the people of this world, is there? Come on, you're way too distrustful of others. Half of it is my fault though. But I did what I did while thinking of you, okay? I told you already, I got that part. However, it's still a fact that the people of this world are selfish, not giving much of a thought about others. Each time she's been mentioning it, it made me wonder. You keep saying this world. What's the deal with that? You make it sound like you came from another world. Then I realized. Hey, just a moment. Is that how it is? No, that can't be. I mean, her origin is indisputable, right? Her face even resembles her father. But, wait, she mentioned something about having almost died at one point. Didn't she? Didn't she actually mean she died instead of just almost dying? And then this girl hijacked the body after arriving from another world, or something like that. It's a crazy idea, but ain't like it's unheard of. I remember hearing about corpses getting possessed. If that's the case here, she's seen my reaction. She sighed. Well, it's something close to what you're probably thinking. I was born into this body while possessing the experience and knowledge of another world. At the age of 5 I saw those memories in a dream, causing me to remember them. For real? Out of the eyes of someone who's equipped with the knowledge of the other world, this world is filled with nothing but terribly cruel and selfish people. Truly a shithole. In the place where my otherworld self lived, it was normal to help others in trouble without demanding any compensation. Well, not at the expense of getting into trouble yourself though. Of course the other world also had many people incapable of consideration and thoughtfulness towards others, but at the same time it also housed many people quite capable of it. But this world doesn't have any of the latter, right? After narrating while looking into the far distance, she revealed a cruel smile. I want to die after destroying this world so that I won't be ever reborn into this world again. She's ill. Shit, I hadn't expected for her mind to have gotten so fucked up. Isn't there anything else? Some other impression of this place? Sure, it's filthy. What an incredible comment. I see. Her love for cleanliness stems from her otherworld common sense. Huh? My otherworld self had been born into a country priding itself to be one of the safest and cleanest environments in the world. Differences between social statuses played almost no role in that country, and most of its places were safe and sanitary. My otherworld self was what you'd call a commoner, but she led a cleaner life than the nobles of this world. The first product I made was detergent to wash my own body. It was a product limited by what a 5-year-old could do, but it was still much better than simply pouring water on myself in the name of washing. Whoa. Then again, it does remind me your tenacity when it comes to washing yourself. Also, I understood one more thing. So that weird composure of yours that doesn't fit a child and rather got a touch of belonging to an old person comes from the time you lived in that other world. How old did you become? No idea. It's not like I recall my entire life over there, though I know that it's not like I died young. By the way, it goes without saying, but I also had friends and a lover. Shut up. Sorry for not having either. Noble children lack childishness just the same. Though the family head's daughter was childish as she was a commoner originally, but when we went to a tea party, the other noble children drew back from her. You know, my way of acting was the standard. Yeah, I suppose that's how nobles are, fucking conceited and stinking of arrogance. Well, this stuff doesn't matter anyway. I pulled on her hand, drawing her into my embrace. I'll guide you through this world. I'll also teach you the common knowledge of this world. So, don't worry. Now listen. She forcefully pushed me away, freeing herself. Eh? What? Your lines just now, I'll act like I didn't hear them if it's right now. Withdraw them and leave. But, if you don't do it, I'll butcher you with a grand spell that had been banned in the other world if you should ever do something like this again. I'll cast curse magic on the elements composing your human body, resulting in them evaporating and getting blown away. Even if you block the spell, you'll still die a slow death of breaking apart as if getting eroded. I'll use that spell to kill you. At the same time of thrusting me away, she looked straight into my eyes with a powerful gleam dwelling in her eyes. Sure, you got a deal. And 0vlisp.c0m. I unintentionally burst into laughter. As I thought, this girl got pissed by me pushing her aside, and yet she still felt inclined to trust me once more. Huh? With that out of the way, let's go. I grabbed her hand once again, and started to pull. Today I don't really feel like doing much, though. The forest is safe, so how about we camp out in the forest? Saying that forest is safe is proof of your weird misconceptions. Quite a lot of monsters inhabit those woods. You know, monsters are basically cowards. Their senses are a lot sharper than those of humans. If they perceive someone strong nearby, they won't approach. Completely different from retarded humans who can't tell strong people apart. Looking over my shoulder, I stared at her. Seriously? It's something I found out after lodging in the forest for the last few days. So, just recently? Chapter 20. I was dragged along after being told that we'd first report back to the guild, before actually entering the guild's building. Sword emphasized, even if there's some moron unable to discern your strength, don't kill him, okay? Wouldn't it be fine for you to not bring me here then? I mean, the place is crowded with idiots. You know, I tried to ignore their existence by magically blocking off sound waves. But since I couldn't cut them off completely, I faintly perceived how people were talking nonsense to me. The people of this world are stupider than monsters. Asterisk. Once we entered, all eyes turned into our direction. How annoying. So you made up, huh? The guild master approached us. I understood why you told me things like please forgive him or he's regretting it. Arg, so that was already part of what you didn't understand? He slapped his forehand with his open hand. When I looked at the receptionist, it made her jump. I wonder what's going on with her. This receptionist lady, who welcomed me at first, is reacting very oddly, or rather, excessively. Also, I understood why she suddenly started to say, I'm going to introduce you to nice partners, okay? To be honest, I suspected her possibly wanting to earn some money through a mediation fee or sell off a newbie adventurer, who doesn't know anything, to some shady adventurers, but now I know it wasn't that. No sooner than becoming pale, the receptionist lady suddenly became all teary-eyed, and finally started to bawl for real. I drew back from her. All of it is Mr. Swords for you alt tilde tilde. I only did as I was asked tilde tilde, and it turned me was to be regarded as a nasty wench on top of getting avoided tilde tilde. No matter how you look at it, aren't you treating people way too terrible? He said, but didn't she mention something about all of it being Mr. Sword's fault? That much is as easy as pie for the people of this world, isn't it? No. The folks going that far among the guild staff. Well, I guess it's better to be safe than sorry. Can't be helped. The crying receptionist threw a dagger at Sword with an amazingly fast motion. Just die. You haven't taught him anything decent, and your way of talking sucks, so you tainted Indra, that cute and innocent boy, with your darkness. You're a pest for society. Wow. The self-alleged big shot doesn't seem to be all that respected, I'd say. Also, I'm a girl. Oh, right. The guy, who almost had his head cut off after picking a fight with you, had his adventurer license revoked. From now on he won't ever be able to work as an adventurer again. The guild master told me. But well, you mean over here, right? If he re-registers elsewhere. Idiot. You're so ignorant. Ain't no way that's possible. Don't look down on the guild. When a license is revoked, the information will also be passed on to all other places. Using a guild-exclusive magic tool, all guilds have been notified about registrations and revocations at the same time. The self-alleged big shot found some fun in berating me. An opening bracket exclusive network system closing bracket. They're quite advanced in that regard, I guess. Huh? I was asked when I unconsciously mumbled that out loud. Don't mind me. I'm just talking to myself. But, what's going to happen if he uses an alias or a disguise? Look, even if you change your name or appearance, you remain you, and I remain who I am, right? This adventurer card here is a magic tool and recognizes the person themselves, no matter how their outward appearance might have been changed. Same applies for the guild's magic tool. Oh. Opening bracket biometrics closing bracket? And 0vlisp.c0m. Why such cutting-edge technology in a place like this? Again with those cryptic words. It might be fine for nobility even without getting something like that card, but for a commoner it's a must. It's a precious card that proves their identity. It also got the convenient function of releasing a flash-in as warning if it's in the hands of someone else. If you're registered as criminal, let alone getting your card revoked, the information is also passed on to the magic tools of the Night Order, guard stations and checkpoints. Otherwise they wouldn't be able to arrest criminals, right? The only ones not possessing this card are nobility and people born as children of robbers. Whoa, it sounds like nobles and robbers are on the same level in this world, doesn't it? Looks like they have no clue of what noblesse oblige means. I understand. Biometrics. Huh. That's truly impressive. Hearing my reply, Sword nodded in satisfaction. Finally you realize that this world got some points of note as well, right? Treating nobles and robbers as the same kind shows what kind of a hopeless case this world is. Anyway, please ask them about the matter we've been talking about before. You call yourself distinguished and important, don't you? The guild master and the receptionists burst into laughter. I've been telling you it's not self-alleged. Damn it. Hey, Guildmaster, give this girl some sorcery liquid. What? Magic tools can be explained as electronic devices in terms of the other world. They always require a magic crest to be drawn onto them. Such crests are superb technology that won't come off even when washed or chafed. I was taught that these magic crests are drawn with something called sorcery liquid. As far as I can tell, magic crests are programs running on a programming language. That means, if I had a dictionary for the programming language and sorcery liquid, I could basically create magic crests myself, right? And I'm good at programming. But I've been told that such dictionaries don't exist and that it's common practice to be taught how to make magic crests by becoming an apprentice of a sorcerer who's proficient at creating magic crests. Seriously, that sucks. But wait a second. What exactly is that sorcery liquid anyway? You require opening bracket software closing bracket to assemble program code and execute a program. In other words, Sorcery liquid is a medium to execute a magic quest through magic elements so as to transform it into a spell. A processor handles the same task. So, when I told Sword that I'd like to know how to make sorcery liquid, he told me, that's why you'd become the apprentice of a sorcerer. So it's a requirement for this as well? Or rather, the idea that you could easily build magic tools is weird. I mean, just clocks are already items that have been finally completed after investing huge amounts of time and money. Back then, the sorcerer, who wanted to create it, had to persuade the king by telling him that he wants to establish a standard for this world. The way how to make clocks has been revealed to the public for the sake of allowing it to spread. Nowadays you can get your hands on them at a relatively cheap price since the country is subsidizing them. But you see, basically, other magic tools are sold by the folk who made them, so some among them are stupidly expensive even if the magic tools are nothing special. After that comment, he scrutinized me really intently. You think you'd be able to make magic tools if you could get your hands on sorcery liquid? I can't say anything for certain as long as I haven't analyzed the liquid first. I suspect that spells are imprinted with sorcery liquid. Kind of like this spell will be invoked if you use the following characters. Though it might be actually far more complex, considering they're being made by folks who adhere to secrecy. Anyway, you draw characters on the medium you want to move with sorcery liquid. The liquid interprets the characters, passes on instructions to the magic elements, and the magic elements carry these instructions out, resulting in the magic tool operating. Probably, such a weekend and after talking all confident. After we had that conversation, Sword mentioned that I might be able to obtain the liquid if he acts as intermediary. You know that it's nothing I can hand over just like that, don't you? Sword thrust his adventurer card into the face of the guildmaster. Hand it over. People like you. Just clock. Come with me. Does he mean the sorcery liquid of a clock? After following him, we entered a room through a door with a guildmaster plate. Removing the seal on a shelf that seemed to be a magic tool, he took out and handed over a heavy jar. Here. What are you planning to do with it? Analyzing. I love this kind of work. Come to think of it, my otherworld self made a robot to automatically clean her desk with her summer vacations crafting set. Different from the other world, everything in this world is made with magic, even without exclusive tools and materials. Note: the only ones capable of that are people at Indra's level. Afterwards I got tired from insistently being told that he wanted to watch me analyzing the liquid, or at least be taught about the results of my analysis. Since I'm going to do it with magic, anyone can do the same, no? Besides, you could get it explained to you by becoming the apprentice of a sorcerer, couldn't you? I hate to take an apprenticeship for each and every little thing, so I usually analyze things myself. Then again, I don't know whether it'll be possible to analyze it. I turned the guildmaster down. After carefully storing it away, I retrieved some liquor from my magic bag to distract him. Here, as thanks. Sword's eyes flew wide open. Hey, that's the booze that has ripened for 3 years which you called opening bracket brandy closing bracket, isn't it? Oh? Even though you ran away from home, it still shows that you're of noble origin. Isn't it a rather sophisticated way to thank someone by giving them liquor? Sophisticated? Still, it sure looks like this world got plenty of drunkards, especially when considering that production methods are being concealed. No, give it back. Sword tried to snatch the brandy out of the guildmaster's hands. It's not yours, is it? I retorted, but he didn't listen at all. However, the guildmaster defended it to the last. She gave it to me. You're 100 years too early to drink this. Sword. Someone like you can get as much high-class liquor as he wants, right? For me it's not easy to obtain drinks that would be drunk by the nobility. That ain't no nobility booze. It's a drink made by her. The guildmaster quickly looked my way with his eyes wide open. You can produce liquor? If it's something simple, yes. The one I gave you can only be made if you can use magic. The guildmaster stared at me, flabbergasted. Meanwhile Sword drew close to me. "Hey, why did you give it to that guy?" I said moments ago that it was an expression of my gratitude. The fact of him taking the liquid out of a magic shelf must mean that it's quite difficult to get your hands on it, right? In such a case I must also thank him with something appropriate. "What about your thanks towards me? It has been offset with your rude behavior." Sword froze after suffering a heavy shock. The guildmaster, on the other hand, smiled broadly. "In short, it's such a wonderful drink that Sword would go into a frenzy over it, and a high-quality product you can't make unless you can freely employ magic that would cause the bloody witch to run away in terror. Huh? I'm looking forward to drinking it then." Just now he said bloody witch, didn't he? Is the translation not working or something? Well, whatever. It won't last long once you open it. It'd be best for you to empty it within a few days after unsealing the lid. If you can't drink all of it, you could also use it for cooking. As if I'd be able to do something so wasteful, he says. But why is everyone claiming that it's a waste to use alcohol for cooking? Also, please give this to the lady who had been bawling. Tell her from me that I've just been cautious and that it's not like I hate her or anything. She seems to have been hurt to such an extent that she threw a dagger at Sword. I'm sorry. Okay, she can put the end of this stick into the container, wind the content around it and lick it, or smear it on bread. Adding it to fruits works as well. I passed him some starch syrup. Is this liquor as well? What would be the point in giving liquor to a woman? Honey exists in this world, doesn't it? It's a similar kind of food. Oi, Her Noble Ladyship, honey is a high-class ingredient. You know, you really find with handing it over so readily? I didn't say that it's honey. It's foodstuff that can be made easily and cheaply. It's no honey, so don't get all formal on me as if expecting something out of it. I answered and entrusted the guildmaster with the syrup and my message. Chapter 21. After Indra and Sword left the guildmaster headed over to the reception, and passed Indra's present to the receptionist who had been on the receiving end of Indra's wariness. "Look, it's a present from Indra for you. She says she doesn't hate you and she's just been cautious of you." The receptionist had yet another crying fit after receiving the gift. "Indra tilde. You're too kind tilde. Stop crying. The adventurers are all backing away from you. Anyway, you'll find there's something with a taste similar to honey but cheaper in price," she said. Hearing that, the other reception women became frenzied, and quickly swarmed towards the one who received the gift. "How nice tilde. Just a bit. Share a little bit with me. Haven't you girls had it nice?" You were able to smile together with cute Indra. When she stopped crying and suddenly scowled at them, the other receptionists looked at each other, shrugging their shoulders. "But, we had to pay a lot of attention to not say anything problematic, you know? Since we didn't know what would hurt our feelings, we had to tread carefully, always smiling, as if tiptoeing around a wounded animal." Indra had received a reasonably decent VIP treatment. "I'm curious as well, so please open it," the guildmaster said, being urged by all her colleagues. The receptionist reluctantly opened her present, just to find a dark reddish-brown liquid inside the container. "I suppose it's no honey. It smells differently. But, it's a nice smell. Somehow I feel like I know it. But then again not." "What do you do with this?" Everyone was talking across each other. "She also gave me a stick, and said that you should thrust the tip of it into this, and wind the liquid around the tip. Afterwards, you can smear or apply it on something as you wish." Would Indra really say something so vague? How am I supposed to remember? Just passing on her verbal message is already more than enough for me. The receptionist accepted the stick, timidly soaked its tip into the liquid. When she lifted it back out, the liquid formed a thin, gooey line between the stick and container. "Well, it's stretching. It does look like it won't work unless you wind it around the stick." The receptionist winded it around, and licked the tip. She covered her mouth in reflex. What? Is it bad? What kind of taste does it have? Super sweet. The hell is this? So dreamy. Give me a bit too. Nope. Ignoring the adventurers, the receptionist women kicked up a fuss as they squealed and chatted. "Alright, I'm definitely looking forward to the drink now as well," the guildmaster murmured, stole back to his office, opened the bottle's lid, and took a gulp. "What the hell is Thayers?" He screamed. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. "It's completely unrelated to you what I do with my share of the brandy, isn't it? In the first place, you didn't plan to meet me for the next while, right? Assuming the alcohol and seasoning would be gone after I treated the people you wanted me to befriend in the meanwhile, you wouldn't be able to get your hands on it again, even if you partied with me later on again? Or am I wrong?" Sword was completely at a loss. "I told you." I freaked out. "I didn't even think of such an important matter." "Hey, how much have you taken with you? Isn't this guy a nutter addict already?" "I secured a barrel of each as your share, and gave them to you. Don't you remember?" "The magic tool Sword gave me as part of the deal was a magic bag. When I told him that I'd prepare alcohol for him exclusively if he could prepare 2 bags with high capacity since I wanted to have 2 more of them, he told me, this is the only existing magic bag. Because he gave it to me, I prepared a special Sword version of the alcohol with carefully selected ingredients. I made him pay for the ingredients, though. But that was only logical since I didn't possess any money. He stuffed the barrels into the biggest and finest existing magic bag, and carried them around while they were maturing in the bag. By the way, even though Sword and I were both carrying around several barrels, it posed no problem since we had enough strength to not even feel the weight. "Unless you prepare them now, I won't be able to drink them in another 3 years. At present I have no plans to brew. It's impossible without a base." "I told you that alcohol is alive, didn't I? It won't be any good if I can't let it quietly rest in a dark and cool place. I have several years' worth of alcohol for cooking, and I've also set aside some for giving them away as presents. I think the servants might still be continuing to brew wine, so go back to them in a year and have them share some with you." "I'm planning to do just that, but I also like the strong booze with the gem-like, transparent color that seems to parch your throat." "That one's a bust without your magic, right?" "I can't do anything to change it, so give up on it." "At any rate, if I had chosen to enjoy some merrymaking with the girls you had prepared for me, you wouldn't have gotten your hands on any of it anyway." "You're so damn insistent." "It was my fault, sorry. So please, give me some booze." "What a good for-nothing buffer." Asterisk. That very buffer took me to an inn. I could have also stayed at a high-class inn, but we'll go with a typical inn for the sake of your education. That means it's going to be a normal inn overflowing with fantasy. Kinda like a tattered youth hostel. After being told my room, and opening the door, bang N0VLOSB.C0M, I slammed the door shut right away. Chapter 22. Sword. Seen how my plan went awry, I've decided to teach her the basics of adventuring myself. For me it had been no biggie to stay in a high-ranking inn, but since it'd be bad for her education, I gritted my teeth and chose a cheap inn. It's an inn where folks round D rank would stay, so it's kinda iffy whether it's the right place for a G rank, but I don't wanna stay at a really cheap place. Anyway, apparently full of curiosity, she entered the inn cheerfully, and then opened the door while being fidgety. So she does have some cute parts, doesn't she? That behavior of hers perfectly fits her age. And then she suddenly slammed the door shut, and slowly looked up to me, trembling like a newborn lamb. Number. Definitely, no. I can't stay in such a small and dirty place. Small and dirty is impossible for me. Come on. There's got to be a limit to cleanliness, right? If you had partied with those girls, you'd be staying at places much shabbier than this. Just when I was about to scold her, tears welled up in her eyes all of a sudden. She's crying while quivering all over. I want to go back to the forest. Gee, gotcha. Let's change inns. It's okay, I'm an S rank, so we can stay at a higher ranking inn. It should be okay over there. Pulling her hand in panic, I rushed out of the inn after yelling, sorry, we're cancelling, in passing. She's loudly sobbing. Whoa, just a seconds, you didn't cry when been abused, running across ferocious monsters, or getting into a fight with a violent guy, but just because the room's dirty, you start bawling? I felt flabbergasted, but to be honest, her finally acting appropriate for her age as a girl was cute. Asterisk. Taking a crying girl along with me earned me some harsh looks by the people round us. After walking for a bit, we arrived at the high-class inn. The folks at the reception scrutinized me, as might be expected, but I made them shut up by showing my card. Give us your best room. As you wish. And then, after getting there, I slowly opened the room. Is this place going to be alright? She finally lifted her face and scanned the room. Timidly approaching. She suddenly let off some kind of magic art. Hey, even while I tried to stop her, she cast one spell after the other. Disinfection, cleaning, and washing finished. With these, it somehow passes. When she was done, the room was so clean that it looked like new and would likely startle even a noble. Asterisk. Let's camp outside from now on. After all, it's a waste to pay money for this room. If we use magic and tools, camping out will be much more pleasant than this. Let's do that. Okay, gotcha. I don't care anymore, so do as you like. Sword gave me that irresponsible answer when I was sitting next to him, clinging to his arm while desperately persuading him. I feel sorry for making him pay money because we didn't stay at the previous inn, but that one was a number. It was small, had no window, stunk, was dirty, and I'm absolutely sure it was full of bugs. N0VLOSB.C0M. Isn't it weird to take money for something like that? You've still got space on your plot of land, so make the rooms bigger. Also, clean the damn place. When I thought that, Sword grinned broadly. What's the matter? I just thought that you finally act like a noble lady your age. To cry over something like a room been dirty. Being reminded of it, I got scared and cried again. I'm sorry, I won't tease you anymore. Sword was in panic. Dirty and small is scary. Gotcha. I understand, so don't cry anymore. He frantically stroked me. Note, going by standards of the other world, Indra is quite obsessed with cleanliness. Even during her time at the mansion, she used her cleaning magic for the rooms and toilet. She's pretty good at tidying up with magic. But there are limits when it comes to dirty rooms. If they aren't clean to some extent, she won't even feel motivated to tidy them up herself. Chapter 23. When I entered the guild the next morning, I was welcomed very warmly. Please tell me the recipe for the liquor you gave me, Indra. That food was a dream. Thanks a lot. The guild master begged me while I was being hugged by the receptionist lady. Man, you folks are so damn noisy. Also, we've got something to discuss with you. We headed over to the guild master's room. Rent us one of the warehouses run by the guild, or have the guild manager warehouse I'd buy. Now listen, I'm not a convenient troubleshooter. Look, I'd be troubled if someone sneaked in on an off chance and stole things from there. The guild master scratched his head, looking rather bothered by this. Would it be an issue to go with a merchant's warehouse? I'm looking for a place to store liquor. If the merchant found out, they'd give me an earful. No? Alright, I got it. I'll arrange everything. Just what did you get? If you had a dark and quiet place at hand, you'd be able to brew alcohol, right? Pretty much. But the cook and the servants had been faithfully cleaning and checking the quality regularly. You know, I'll handle that part. Somehow, the guild master is full on board with this all of a sudden. It sounds like I'm quite the clean freak, but yet they kept it so clean that I couldn't find a single fault with it. I told them, just in case. It's alright, leave it to me. The guild master drummed on his own chest. Oh well, whatever. It's just about the alcohol you people are going to drink anyway. If it fails, we just need to make it anew. We won't get anywhere if we assume it'll fail. We'll make this town our base. Even if we were to go on a journey, things will be fine as long as we come back several times a year to check, right? The tools available in this world are pretty sloppy in their making. Just look at the barrels. When we gathered them, we had to trash 80% because they were leaking. Don't you remember? Succeeding on a first attempt would be close to a miracle under these circumstances. It'd be much safer to beg the cook and the servants, and buy their wine for a big amount of money. I've already taken measures on that end. Did that guy strike a bargain with them or something? Moreover, he totally looks as if he let something slip he didn't want me to know. Hey, if you don't want me to unveil the great spell that will destroy everything on this planet right here and now, spit out everything. The guild master slapped the back of Sword's head. For heaven's sake, you're always such a goddamn troublemaker. This sneaky bugger apparently got all chummy with the cook and the servants behind my back. Isn't he awfully sociable considering he's got no friends whatsoever? No, I guess it's his resourcefulness rearing its head when it comes to things that are of advantage to him. Anyway, it looks like he brought up the idea with them to continue the alcohol brewing and sell the products since he'd finance them after I was gone. Apparently he went even as far as declaring that they'd suffer no losses since he'd buy up everything they couldn't sell. Almost everyone, with the cook in the lead, agreed to his proposal. However, all of this depends on Lady Indra giving her approval. So said the cook. So you're saying I'll be able to buy that liquor if I go to the brewery involved with Sword? Sorry, I don't think they'll sell you the liquor I gave you, Guildmaster. I robbed him of any false hope early on. Why not? You can't make that liquor without magic. I won't say it's completely impossible if you create the appropriate magic tools or utilities, but even though I know the underlying principle, I wouldn't know how to go about actually making the necessary tools. I'm sure it'd be a series of trials and errors at the start. Then again, you should know that it took me quite a number of failures when I created the liquor I gave you at first. That's because you were aiming for perfection, no? When I asked the cook and the others, they seemed to be confused as to why you label your trial products as failures. They sure don't get it, do they? If I say it's a failure, then it's just that. Then, please let me have a taste of the liquor they're selling, just to sample it. So early in the day? Oh well. If it's just sampling, it should be okay, I suppose. I took out wine from the cooling magic bag. That's... I won't give you all of it, just a cup for testing. Me too. With a sigh, I filled their cups. Such a tiny amount? You don't drink wine so early in the day. A component called alcohol is included in it. Gotcha. Just taste test in. Okay. Sword chugged the whole thing down in a breath. The taste is really different when it's cooled. It loses some of its aroma, I think. Well, I've opened this wine several times for cooking, so this also plays a role. I got super startled when the guildmaster shouted all of a sudden. Dude, you made me jump up from my chair. This is great stuff. It's easy to drink since it's cooled. And this aroma, it's marvelous. This is wine, right? How is it so different from the stuff available for sale on the markets? I'd say because they're sloppy in their brewing procedures. Wine is alive. It's just that they haven't realized that fact, or to go even further, they aren't even aware of the living beings contained in the air or water. You people should really try using your brain why things are rotting. Sheesh. I see. It's alive. So you're saying it becomes so lovely if you raise it dearly. The personification of alcohol has started. I got suddenly promoted to D rank. It's said that the guildmasters can promote people to D rank on their own authority. Since you must take an exam to move up to C rank, I was told to keep my eyes open for the next chance, and take it then. Given that I was in a party with Sword, I'd be able to take S rank work as well, but because it was rare for such work to come around, it'd apparently get moved to the rankless, pending cases handled directly by the guild. While checking the request board, I said, somehow I've started to feel like being an adventurer isn't suited for me, at long last? Is what I got in response. I don't get the meaning behind killing monsters. Isn't it actually the humans of this world that attack them? To me it seems like it'd be better for the life forms other than humans to kill the monster like humans. Don't babble stuff, the Demon King would say. They might have left you alone, but other humans are getting attacked by monsters. Rather, why are the monsters leaving you alone anyway? That's the really mystery here. They did attack me every once in a while though. Still. So a Demon King does exist. I suppose it's impossible for you to know. Yep, he exists. Do heroes or similar possibly exist as well then? Yep. What's the difference between an S-rank adventurer and a hero? A big one. Rather, they can't be compared. A hero is chosen by the kingdom as its representative with the goal to invade the Demon King's country. S-rank signifies an adventurer who had their actual abilities and achievements approved by the Adventurer Guild. Somehow he's talking about it as if it contains some hidden implications. S-rank adventurers occasionally fend off monsters which would destroy a country. Heroes go to someone else's country and try to destroy it. Does that summarize it in a nutshell? Oh, that's a great way of describing it. He praised me while ruffling my head. Stay away from heroes as much as possible. The folks chosen as heroes are fairly strong in martial arts and magic, as might be expected from them having been chosen by the country. But when unknown commoners suddenly get promoted to such a high rank, many of them act as they please, knowing that the country got their back, and since they're getting pampered, their elitism demeanor is much worse than that of nobles. They're nothing but trouble if you get involved with them. That's the perfect way to raise a flag, really. Huh? No, I think it'll be alright. The current generation's hero hasn't appeared yet. And even if he does, you ain't going to meet him if you stay clear of the royal capital until he departs to the front. Well, for the time being, this place will be my base. After all, I have to brew alcohol. MMH? In that case, couldn't we call over the cook and the servants? In that case we could leave everything to them, and only come back here every now and then to handle the parts requiring magic, no? I voiced my thoughts. Sword scrutinized me closely. You're a really smart girl, though I expect them to say that it's impossible and that they'll do it over there. I'd prefer having them make the liquor here, but I don't know how much we can rely on that guild master when push comes to shove. Can he actually be trusted? I mean, I don't know what kind of uproar it's going to trigger in that town when that man finds out. Isn't it highly likely that he'd seize the liquor, the profits, and the knowledge at the very least? And if he discovers my involvement, I'm sure he'd destroy all the barrels and falsely charge them for something so that they wouldn't be allowed to ever make liquor again. Don't you think? And 0VLOSB.C0M. I'll contact them right away and try to have them come here. An immediate reply. But, transport, huh? If it comes to this world with its scrappy means of transportation for liquor, the liquor will likely get spoiled, I think. When I mumbled that, he got totally startled. Why? They're going to move with carriages, right? The liquor will be exposed to the carriage's strong vibrations over a long time. Moreover, it'll be stowed away on the load carry tray, so no one knows how hot it's going to get up there. I told you, didn't I? Alcoholic beverages turn into poison if they aren't allowed an environment where they can rest peacefully in a dark and cool place. If things go totally south, the barrels could even explode. Alright, you and me are going to carry M. In the worst case, I'll drink up everything. I thought he'd say that. Asterisk. Sword quickly advanced the preparations for us to head over to the place of the cook and the servants. As for me, I worked together with the guild master to select a good place, and performed analysis and development on magic tools. Somehow I've totally stopped doing anything adventure-y, haven't I? At least I don't feel like the other adventurers are doing what I am. Then again, I still don't get what adventurers are doing anyway. Suddenly I recalled that I had said it'd get spoiled when transported as load on a carriage. Honestly speaking, it'd have been fine even without becoming so neurotic about it, wouldn't it? In the other world transport by plane or boat was available, but in the past they used carriages as well, didn't they? Leaving aside liquor, distilled liquor seems to be quite resilient to its environment. Even if the taste degraded a bit, the heavy drinkers around here would still drink it without any problem, I'm sure. But, using that method despite knowing that the taste is going to suffer from it spells a failure as a craftswoman, doesn't it? After all, I'm the maker and not a merchant. I do have some ideas for carriages suited for transport, but I've got no idea whether they'd work in this world. As I was pondering about all this, I got contacted by Sword. Chapter 24. In the end, it was decided that the cook, servants, and maids would come here after negotiating some conditions with Sword. They settled the whole affair by agreeing that those remaining behind would henceforth never make any of the things I had developed and stay silent about everything they might know about it. I created a magic tool that could roughly determine locational information. Using that, a 1-month trip was shortened down to 3 days. In any event, we stuffed all the liquor into our magic bags, which I had revised, and return to our base. If you're going to use this town as a base anyway, you might as well buy a house and set up a brewery there. Don't you think? Sword will provide the money, so just grab yourself a place of your choice. The guild master said and took us to a stately mansion which he and I had already pretty much decided on. What the hell is this place? It's a safe and secure brewery of the scale you'd hoped for. While at it, you can also live there. The miss over here is genuine nobility, and your NS rank. I think a mansion of this size should meet your standards. The guild master nonchalantly explained when Sword got upset. The deposit and improvements are already done. Indra, I had improved this place after deeming it to be a good place for living. The toilet flushes, and the bathroom has a proper bathtub. Since I had the chance, I also added a disposer to the kitchen, and the sewage processing is perfect thanks to a magic tool. I used the full extent of my knowledge, reforming it into a living space with a comfort close to the place I lived at before. As it is, I can live here without crying. Okay? When I told Sword all this with a smile, he sighed. Why the sigh? Asterisk. The cook and the others arrived, and immediately gathered around me, kneeling down for some reason. Lady Indra, it is our pleasure to see you after such a long time. Yeah, it's been a while. But let me get something straight first. I'm no noble anymore, just a simple commoner like you guys, and the one who negotiated with you was Sword. That's all. Even so, we came to this place because of your wisdom, Lady Indra. Okay, I wonder what's going on. Just why does it feel like all of them are somewhat fanatic? Anyway, please ask Sword for further instructions. Sword and I are partners, but you guys are basically Sword's assistants. I outsourced them to Sword. No need to be so cruel to M, is there? You could at least get their feelings of being happy over the possibility of meeting you once more. That makes no sense, does it? Why would they be happy about seeing me? I'm sure they must have considered me to be no more than some weird noble who possesses the knowledge how to make foodstuff and liquor for some odd reason, while at the same time suspecting that I might be hated by the mansion's lord. It's unlikely for them to have embraced any other thoughts or feelings about me, and even if they had, it wasn't visible in any way. At once, all of them cast down their eyes with their heads hanging. Now listen, girl. You're always telling others that they can't guess the feelings of others. But do you realize that you're just the same? I became dumbfounded at what Sword told me. Don't you understand their regret of being unable to do anything, although they wanted to help you somehow and been forced to watch you getting abused? It sounds like you're saying, feeling something while being unable to do anything to fix it is the same as not feeling anything to begin with. But ain't that something totally different? I mean, that's like saying you can't understand their feelings since you can't put yourself in their shoes. Get a clue why these guys came to you and bowed their heads? Geez. Certainly, he got a point. I was fully convinced that I couldn't get anyone to understand my circumstances. It was the same before and after my memories revived. The butler, the head maid, the maids, the servants, and the cook. Now that I think about it, they've looked out for me in various ways. It was the butler who organized the money at the end, bringing it to me against their will. The family head, even though she'd never taken care of private business during work, it was the head maid who stopped me before leaving to give me all kinds of stuff. The servants and maids had also chipped in some things for me. The cook politely bid farewell from me, but my answer to her was cold and curt. While recalling the line, I don't know about the part with the many years to come, and similar, I realized how nasty I've been. Arg, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to blame you. Sword spoke up to me in panic, suddenly taking me into his arms. And then he excessively and roughly stroked my head. I'm an ungrateful person, am I not? No way, that's true. Don't worry, you're not. You've got a nasty tongue, but you're basically a gentle person. You even forgave a guy like me. And didn't you also look out for your half-sister one way or the other? It's just that you've become too distrustful of other people because of your shitty environment. Originally you're someone who's considerate of others. It looks like I ended up crying again. After sobbing for some time while clinging to Sword, and him wiping my face with a towel, I finally turned around, just to notice how everyone present looked flabbergasted. Sword cleared his throat. Even if she acts all grown up, She's a kid in the end. If she gets too worked up, she acts like a normal girl. Since she'll immediately cry as soon as she sees a dirty place, make sure to keep the mansion clean. As you wish. They all replied at once. How promising. Asterisk. The cellar has been set up in the basement of the mansion, I explained while guiding everyone around. The barrels we brought over have already been stored away down here to ripen. The preparation room is above this place. Since the carpenter and I added it on the spot, it's turned out somewhat unshapely, but please deal with it as it's a workshop. I set up the areas above and below the ground to be big so that it'd be possible to add distillation apparatuses in the future and to stock up plenty of liquor for 10 or even 15 years, even though I was justifying it to myself that it'd be fine as long as we were to drink it by ourselves. Everything was heading towards a genuine brewery. As for the living space, I've decided on my room. After Sword chose his room, you guys are free to choose whichever rooms you like. Everyone froze on the spot. No, that is. The cook looked at Sword with a troubled face. That's no good, Sword. Ain't it just fine? In short, you're saying, I'll leave the management of this mansion to these guys, right? I nodded. But, there's a lot of rooms. I want a big, pretty room, but I don't need several of them. Please clean my room when I'm not here. Dirty and small places are scary. Certainly, my lady. The maids acknowledged humbly all at once. Somehow they seem to be super understanding, like emitting an aura that tells me to leave everything to them. Sword stroked my head. Indra burst into tears with her body trembling all over after seeing a lodging room that'd be used by normal adventurers. I mean, anyone would cry after seeing it. That was no place for people to enter. It was so awful that I spent all night awake, crying, while remembering all kinds of things and asking myself why anyone would cower all by themselves in such a dirty and small place. You took Lady Indra to such a foul place? And 0vlisp.c0m, just what have you done? Please don't ever take her to such a filthy place ever again. Otherwise we shall shatter all barrels. For some reason the maids seemed awfully agitated. I don't remember having been such a popular person, though. One of the servants suddenly planted himself in front of me as I was brooding. Originally the residences of the master and their servants should be separate, my lady. The servant, who seemed to be something like a leader, probably, told me with a grim face. Right now I'm a commoner. And Sword is a self-alleged big shot. You can leave the self-alleged away. He's claiming to be awesome, but in the end he's a guy who got told to die and had a dagger thrown at him by a receptionist. The money to buy this place has been paid by Sword and me. But, a mansion has something you'd call maintenance costs. It's fine for you to live here as you please. But, you'll handle the cleaning and keep things in order. That's your rent. We won't pay you any wages, that's all. It looks like they came to terms with that. Also, don't invite anyone else over. The brewery is especially off limits. After all, the liquor is going to turn into poison if carelessly touched. Even bad liquor might taste good, but if we're doing it anyway, we might as well aim for new heights. Strict management by people with the right knowledge is crucial for that. Liquor is alive. You never know what balls of curiosity like humans might do, and that's not just limited to children. Moreover, they won't even be aware of the harmfulness of their own actions. Thus it's best to not let them get anywhere close in the first place. Everyone bowed simultaneously. Chapter 25. Roughly 2 years later. I've been working hard on improving the mansion even further, with Sword raising the necessary funds for the materials. In addition, I've been brewing liquor and teaching cooking. It reached the point that not just the cook, but even the maids learned from me how to cook. The servants have started to dabble in farm work, mostly in favor of produce related to liquor. Basically, we all aimed for a house that would be as comfortable for living as possible, while regularly talking it over. Nowadays, things have broadly settled down. I'd like to finally get back to my real occupation. Upon my declaration, Sword became puzzled. Real occupation, adventurer. He really stressed the what's this girl talking about all of a sudden? To the limit. At this point you've got no need to be an adventurer anymore, have you? If you joined up with our cooking team, rented out some place, and opened a restaurant, It'd likely boast of such a popularity that even nobles would swarm to it like bees to honey. No? The cooking team would compensate for the lack of wages with that as well. Besides, if you started selling the magic tools of this house to noble mansions, you'd make a killing without so much as lifting a finger, right? I mean, even royalty doesn't live in a comfortable place like this. He started to gradually get riled up. Why does water come out if you twist this knob? Why does water stream in the toilet, making the waste vanish somewhere? Just what the hell is this magic tool that allows you to regulate fire? If you spend your life in such a pleasant and relaxing place, you'll rot as a human. He thundered while letting his spit fly all over. But, aren't we just spending money right now? We made up our mind to start selling the liquor we brought with us, but in the end it yielded us no income yet as the selection is still pending. I want to earn some money quickly and without much effort. It's true that I've still got some of the extortion money over, but that's not the issue here. I want to earn my own money. Even if I were to open a restaurant, I'd first need some funds. Besides, I'm not doing my initial objective of other-world sightseeing. Sword, you're doing adventure-like things like gathering materials and raising funds, aren't you? Up until now I couldn't do the same because of the plethora of things I had to do, but I've finally got some time now. I'd like to go on an adventure with you. I whimpered while sadly casting my eyes down. In response, he quickly became affectionate. I guess you're right. I did say that I'd teach you. Didn't I? Gotcha. Let's go on an adventure. Men are so easy. Asterisk. So for that reason we've decided to leave this place for a while. Take care of the rest here, Kay? Seeing how you've stuck with us through joyful and painful times, I doubt you'd do anything bad in this house, but be careful. I've put up a request and hired a party of adventurers as guards. Moreover, Indra mentioned something about a really scary crime prevention magic tool. So I think you guys are going to be alright over here. In case you get contacted by the guildmaster, or even when you feel in danger without any prior notice, immediately press this here, and take refuge in a cellar so that you won't get caught in the interception patterns which are going to deal with the potential crimes I could think of. The cellar has been turned into a shelter. You'll be safe there as long as the planet itself doesn't blow up. The maids all at once pressed on Sword. By all means, no matter what you might do, please take good care of Lady Indra. And zero value SP.C0M. Make sure to not take her ladyship to any weird places. If you make her ladyship cry, we shall haunt you for eternity. Somehow I feel like they're saying some really scary things. Is the translator broken again? Gee, gotcha. It's going to be fine. Leave her to me. I nodded as well. I developed a tent with a function to fold up on one touch. I've also resolved the toilet issue with magic. Rather than worrying about me, you people need to be careful of yourself. If you run out of money, palm off some liquor to the guildmaster without any worries. Same applies for the wheat honey, okay? Okay. Everyone answered somewhat listlessly. You cannot escape a dire problem without making some sacrifices, right? Stuff like the revised starch syrup, wheat honey, only takes time and effort to concentrate while not requiring any time to ripen. Asterisk. Alright, we're off then. Please have a safe trip. We left our home while being seen off by everyone. Now then, Yoku, switch to optical camouflage once we leave town. Aye sir. I haven't spent all my 2 years doing nothing but improving and maintaining our mansion. Since I got my hands on the omnipotent tool called magic, I really wanted to build a robot with my own hands, at any cost. At any cost. My otherworld self adored the robots who fought flashy battles in space wars, but I gotta say the ultimate robots are those with a soul. Thus I built my robots even while having to listen to Sword's annoying bickering. Asterisk. Why the hell did you shape it like a huge friggin' spider? Spiders are useful. Useful? They only coil you up in threads, inject poison into you, and eat you starting with the head. Oh, that's the kind of spiders they got in this world? MMH, according to my otherworld knowledge, spiders and slimes are like human friends. Like hell. The only difference between M is one eats you after wrapping you up in threads, and the other eats you after melting you into syrup. How regrettable. Oh well, Whatever. This is a golem. A battle golem with a learning function. Its name is Ryoku. 1. Its naming is a mystery. 2. It means famous horse in the other world's language. It's a damn spider and not a horse. He said this and that about Ryoku, but I like it. I got all the basics down. Asterisk. Of the parts sink called Ryoku. It only allowed me to build 2 of them. Of course I've linked them together with a parallel, exclusive network system, despite it being limited to 2 participants. When I've learned even more amazing magic after finishing this trip, I'll include them in my robots. Please don't. If they should ever go out of control, they're gonna become a lot more formidable than a dragon, won't they? Even if they wanted to go berserk, they can't. Although it's quite possible for them to think and talk based on magic elements alone, they require magic elements and fuel to move. Without a human being nearby to maintain them, they'd quickly run out of steam and deteriorate. Sword sighed. That's so? Yes, that's how it is. Asterisk. A little time after we headed out to adventure, Sword started to talk while being somewhat unmotivated. Just in case, I'm gonna teach you, a newbie adventurer, the ropes of an ordinary adventurer's traveling. Confined and dirty, scary. I know. Don't worry, we'll avoid such places. Usually adventurers move by foot or with carriages along the main roads. Except for times when they don't rest, they'll spend the night at camping spots. Since those places usually have a good outlook, it's easy to spot any monsters, and it makes it simple to get in contact with folks camping like camps since they're gathering places for other travelers. When it comes to people like me, we don't run often into enemies that'd give us trouble. The same might apply to you as well, but it still makes it simpler to work together with the other people at such camping sites to fend off possible enemy attacks. For all these reasons, they'll camp at camping spots as much as possible. Do you understand? I nodded deeply. I got it. Basically you're telling me to stay away from the camping spots since they're dangerous because of the people there. That's not what I said. Eh? Suddenly he pressed his knuckles against my head and started to grind. NOWLISTEN, GIRL. If you keep yapping such stuff, I'm going to stop teaching you. If you feel like it, you can also stay in the belly of that giant spider Yoku, can't you? It's safe in there, right? We've brought the tent with us because you told me you want to camp out like adventurers do, didn't you? I'm going to destroy it. I'm sorry. Once I apologized despite not quite understanding what his problem was, Sword released my head, and brushed up his 4 bangs after sighing once more. I'm an S rank, so I want to avoid camping while mingling with normal adventurers. But you see, being an adventurer means encountering all kinds of situations. Some requests require a big number of people, and not just you and me. Such requests are irrefutable. But it makes sense, somewhat. If it's requests that are flagged as irrefutable, they must be quite urgent or important. If you turn them down, you might be forced to resign as adventurer, I'm sure. By the way, are those escort requests or some such? It ain't gonna be people, if it requires S-rank escorts. Unless it's something that could get attacked by calamity-level monsters, no one would ask an S-rank for an escort. The escort for nobles or royals, which you seem to have in mind, aren't left in the hands of adventurers, even not S-ranks. And even if such request came up, it'd be refutable. I felt relieved when hearing that. Of course, I'll do it, if asked to cooperate, since it's not like I'm that much of a savage who doesn't know what solidarity means. But, the people of this world always care about themselves first, and sometimes they'll try to use others for their own gains. I won't deny that. That's why you should use them while keeping your own good in mind as well. If I remember correctly, I told you that I'd always stay by your side, and I intend to follow up on that. But unfortunately I feel like unforeseen situations always mess up my predictions. Put your own safety first until I come to help you. Having him tell me that gave me peace of mind, and when I realized that I felt relieved, I also understood that I always wanted to have someone to rely on deep down in my heart. Sword showed up when I had no one to depend on, and the people related to me by blood were such assholes, so I ended up relying on him before I noticed it myself. That's also the reason why I flew into such rage on that day. I think I was desperate. What's it all of a sudden? Sword got startled when I leaned against him. It looks like I've started to trust and depend on you at some point without being aware of it myself. Apparently I actually wanted to rely on someone. That's something I comprehended just now. He gently ruffled my hair. I know. I've also been thinking about your well-being in various ways. There are a few parts where I made mistakes, but I've always been acting while certain that it was for your sake, okay? Well, next time I'll desist from pushing you away with the force as if pushing someone off a cliff, even if it might be for your own good. I mean, if I did that, you're quite liable to destroy the world with your great taboo magic thanks to your mental illness. I'm happy to hear that I got you to understand. No, rather than acting happy about it, I'd like you to abandon that idea altogether. I laughed. Hello More Clan. We hope that each and every one of you is enjoying the collection of audiobooks available here. If you just want to support me or have a particular novel in mind that you'd like to request, please kindly click on the provided links below. Once again thank you More Clan.